to power with the economy, NHS and immigration top of his agenda.
Yes, Sir Keir Starmer will be in Essex today, setting out 6 reasons why Labour says you should make him the next Prime Minister. I'll bring you the details shortly.
Europe holds its breath. Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico fights for his life following surgery after being shot in a politically motivated attack.
Hundreds of people in Devon are struck down by what they describe as the worst ever illness after a parasite was discovered in the water.
Queen Camilla reveals she won't be buying any more fur, so we're asking, is it time to ban the sale of it?
A group of RAF cyclists ride to a memorial site in the Netherlands in honour of an aircrew killed during the Dam Busters raid back in 1943.
And in the sport this morning, big clubs with under-fire managers had a good night. Manchester United beat Newcastle, Chelsea won away at Brighton, Celtic are Scottish champions, which was pretty standard fare to be honest. And could VAR be scrapped next season? We can always hope.
If you've started the day with cloud and outbreaks of rain, some sunnier weather is on the way, either later today or the next few days. I'll have the full details in the forecast coming up soon.
Morning to you, I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is Breakfast on GB News.
I am thrilled to be back today.
Are you?
Yes, I am.
Did you enjoy your break?
Well, yes, I've had a lovely few days off because we were off last weekend. And it's all the rotors are a little bit to cock at the moment. But anyway, no, but I'm delighted to be back because I can use my laptop and my phone. No internet at home since Monday.
No internet at home since Monday.
And now, of course, in this modern world, that means obviously no computer. Can't get a phone signal in the house.
No banking, online banking?
No banking, no television, no radio, no nothing.
What have you been doing?
Playing canasta.
What's that?
It's a card game.
Oh,
So we've literally
dear
been playing canasta and sitting in the garden.
Well, you must be a pro by now.
And we haven't got any internet till at the earliest tomorrow morning.
No. How have you been coping?
It's been...
You're such a techie household.
Yeah, I know. Can't turn some of the lights on because it's all done by Alexa.
He is very techie.
So you can't...
Does your coffee machine still work?
Coffee machine still works.
Well, that's OK.
But that's about the only thing.
Oh, no!
Coffee machine and the microwave. Everything else is connected to the internet.
She's just been sat in the garden twiddling her thumbs.
Yeah, so it's gone... It went down, and they reckon it's something to do with the exchange and all the rest. So, anyway, OpenReach can't come out till tomorrow.
Oh, no.
So all week without anything.
You feel like you've gone back in time.
Yeah, and it's things like you can't get a phone signal in the house unless you're, like, right on the very, very top and leaning out of a window. So...
How have you been managing, or has it been quite nice to have a detox?
After the first couple of days were very tense.
Oh, were they?
After that, it's quite nice to have a detox, but you just want to plan a detox, don't you?
Yeah.
When you've got loads of stuff that you need to do.
You don't want to detox against your will.
And then it all just disappears. So it's been a bit weird. It's been a bit of a weird week.
Well, welcome back to the world of the internet.
Yes, I've just downloaded a TV show that we can watch tonight.
Oh, that's what you were doing. I was thinking, why is he logging into Netflix at 5:45 in the morning? That'll be why.
Downloading a TV show.
Oh, good idea. So you've got something to watch.
So we can watch something on telly tonight.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, did you catch Eurovision last week? Thought of you.
Oh, yes.
Yes, and I predicted it correctly as well.
You did actually predict it correctly.
I did.
I wouldn't
like
have.
I said,
I didn't vote for that one.
I did. I think it's very good.
But all the hoo-ha. Have you seen all the hoo-ha around it?
No.
And everyone kicking off. And the Irish contestant, because she launched an urgent complaint, so they couldn't attend one of the semi-finals or something, because she was an urgent complaint. And it turns out it was because the Israeli broadcaster in the semi-finals said that when she was performing, or they were performing, this person has been complaining about Israel, prepare your curses.
Oh.
And she's complained that was breaking the rules. But she's a witch who is...
Did she actually say she's a witch?
Yeah. Oh. Who does all the preparing curses in the act. Oh. Which is all... But she's complained about someone saying, prepare your curses. It's like snowflakey. It's so snowflakey.
It's very snowflakey, and it's not meant to be political, isn't it?
No, it's all very odd.
Yeah.
But then I also get a bit annoyed because I've seen people complaining about ours, Ollie Alexander, and I have to say, I do think it was dreadful. I do think it was dreadful. I don't think it was a good performance.
It wasn't the best, was it?
I don't think
Ties on the wonk.
Oh, thank you. I don't think it was a great song. So, I mean, I thought it was a bad go for us. But it's the fact I've seen people complain. Andrew Pearce, one of them, saying it was clearly set in a public lavatory. That was no, it was on a spaceship. It's on a spaceship.
Oh, and you'd know all about that.
That's why they kept moving about, because it's meant to be
see.
zero gravity. It was set on a spaceship. Doesn't make it any better, but it certainly wasn't set in a toilet.
Yeah, no, ours wasn't the best, was it?
No, I'm afraid.
But I called it. I called it correctly. Nemo, wasn't it? Nemo.
Nemo.
And The Code.
The Code. It's quite catchy, but it's...
Fantastic. I called it on the night. Let us know if you were watching it, what you thought. gbnews.com/you'll say.
But he broke the trophy.
I didn't see that.
It was hilarious.
I went to bed after that.
Just as he was given his trophy at the end...
He broke it.
It was the glass one. And just as Graham Norton said, "Oh, be careful what you do with that, don't break it," it literally snapped in half.
Oh, no.
So I thought
That's something that would happen to me, to be fair.
That was a classy moment.
Last thing to say on that as well.
Right,
It's very
yeah.
annoying that ABBA didn't make an appearance. They were really working up to the moment, weren't they? They said 50 years ago today, or 50 years ago this year. ABBA won.
And then we just got those hologram things.
And then we got the holograms. Rubbish.
Yes, it was disappointing.
Very.
That was disappointing.
So your thoughts on any of the above, or anything you'd like to talk about today, do let us know. gbnews.com/you'll say.
Now, echoing his predecessors, the Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer will today unveil his 6 election pledges to the country.
Yes, they include maintaining economic stability, cutting NHS waiting times and launching a new border command.
Yeah, also wants to set up Great British Energy, crack down on antisocial behaviour and recruit 6,500 new teachers.
Well, let's get the thoughts of our political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Good morning, Catherine. Good to see you. This does echo, doesn't it, the 5 pledges made by Blair in the late 90s?
Yes, it does. Good morning, Stephen and Ellie. Some of them are absolutely the same, including cutting NHS waiting lists. That's one of Rishi Sunak's as well, of course. Improving education, cracking down on antisocial behaviour. So big echoes. But of course, Sir Keir Starmer has gone one further because he's got not 5 pledges, but 6. Now, looking at these, delivering economic stability, they've tweaked that a bit. They previously said the biggest, fastest growth in the G7. Well, that's not very clear to a lot of people what that actually means. Cut NHS waiting times. Good luck with that. Rishi Sunak has not succeeded. That's one of his as well. Launch a new border command. Now, this is the new addition that Labour have decided to put in to try to prove to voters that they are serious about cracking down on illegal migration as well. Now, it's not as strong, of course, as Rishi Sunak stopped the boats, but then Rishi Sunak hasn't stopped the boats. Has he? We've also got recruiting thousands of new teachers and cracking down on antisocial behaviour. So there's nothing, also Great British Energy, nearly forgot that one. There's nothing actually new here. We've all heard these policies before, but what they're trying to do with these 6 pledges, they're trying to sort of distill Keir Starmer's 5 national missions that he's talked about but have seemed perhaps a bit woolly and haven't really cut through with voters, trying to distill those down into something that's very easy to understand, very graspable by voters. They're going on a big advertising blitz with this. They're spending serious money. They've got a graphic of Keir Starmer looking very businesslike, black and white, and these pledges in red and white. And then, trying to grab people's attention, because despite the big lead in the polls that Labour have, there's no sign really that voters are wild with enthusiasm for Labour or Keir Starmer or what they're offering, simply that they are, many of them, very, very fed up with the current government and going to vote for change no matter what.
What is interesting, though, I mean, they're 6 eye-catching points. I mean, you can see how they would appeal to some people, but when do we get the meat on the bones of all of this?
Yes, well, that is the thing that the government is constantly saying, oh, well, where's the plan? They've got no plan. We're beginning to get more detail, aren't we? But this is the criticism that has long been levelled at Labour. They're very good at shouting from the sidelines, as opposition parties are. But what are they going to do differently? So, for example, we had this boat command, border security command that Keir Starmer launched last week. Well, they're saying this is the plan that will help us crack down on channel migrant crossings, and this is what we're going to do: tackle the people smugglers, get through asylum claims much quicker. Of course, the government will say, well, we're already doing all of that, and we've got our Rwanda plan, which Labour have said that they're going to stop. So, yes, economic security, one of the things that Labour are saying is they're going to be very careful with the economy. They're pretty much not going to make many financial commitments. They're going to be super, super careful, which will really limit what they can do and what they are able to promise. So in many ways, there's not huge points of difference between the Conservatives. But, of course, they're not been in power for 14 years. And so they're able to point to what they say is, an economy on its knees. Now, sure, it's picking up recently, but we have had years and years of economic stagnation. They're going to say, are you feeling better than you did when the Conservatives came to power? And they still feel that, by and large, most people will say that they don't feel better off.
OK. Catherine, for now, thanks very much indeed.
Now, Slovakia's Prime Minister is in hospital after being shot 5 times while leaving a government meeting in a small town northeast of Bratislava.
Robert Fico was initially left in a critical condition, but we're told is now stable.
Well, the Slovakian government has said the assassination attempt was politically motivated, with the Prime Minister known for his pro-Russian stance.
Well, the alleged attacker has been detained, but is yet to be formally identified by the authorities.
Well, we're now joined by Slovakian news presenter and reporter Pavel Verbekin. Good to see you this morning, Pavel. What do we know about what happened yesterday?
Good morning from Bratislava. Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico, after he has been shot several times and critically injured, should no longer be in life-threatening condition. He underwent several hours surgery yesterday and should be stabilized in Banská Bystrica hospital. Our Minister of Environment, Tomáš Taraba, said that surgery went well at late evening, and in the end he will survive, he said. According to his words, Mr. Fico was heavily injured and the bullet went through the stomach and the hand. That's what we know so far. The good news is that no major arteries were hit. So probably more information will come today, and that's about his conditions right now.
What do we know about the attacker and why this happened?
The attacker, he is 70-plus man, and he is a writer. That's what we have some information. He was standing in a crowd in front of the building where the government meeting took place. Fico, our prime minister, went to cheer the crowd in the town and walked right to the gunman. Right now, he's in hands of police right after the attack. He was just under control at the moment, but no more information. One of our ministers said that the attack was politically, his political opinions, probably the gunman. So right now we don't know more. Most probably the shooting was politically motivated. That's what we can say.
And how is this being received by the public in Slovakia? It must be the most shocking and distressing news.
Yes, President of Slovakia, Zuzana Čaputová, condemned the attack, speaking at the news conference yesterday. She said the shooting was an attack on democracy as well. Publicly was also condemned. New elected president, who will be the next president from June, Peter Pellegrini, leader of government party, said the shooting of the prime minister is an unprecedented threat to Slovak democracy. Speaking to reporters in front of the hospital where Fico is being treated, elected defense minister Kaliňák said that hate is not an answer to hate. What I can say right now, our country is deeply divided over after the last election. Since Fico returns to power last year, critics says he is a populist whose pro-Russian leanings pose major risk for the country. He has strong support and strong oppositions. Of course, Slovakia is divided, I would say 50-50. People who do not support the prime minister claim that he himself has escalated the situation with his rhetoric, and it has come this far because of him as well. So country has seen weeks of largely peaceful protest over his coalition government's controversial domestic reforms. The government is also trying to shut down public service broadcasters and plans to replace it with a new national broadcaster. So also these are the things which are right now happening in Slovakia. As I said, nation is pretty divided, and the rhetoric, also prime minister rhetorics, was very, very offensive many times.
Okay. Pavel Verbiken, thank you very much indeed. Good to talk to you this morning.
Thank you.
This is what happens, though. Isn't it interesting? It's absolutely fascinating talking to Pavel when he says it's become so divided, so divisive now, politics in that country, where 50% of the people are absolutely dead set against their leader. And we seem to be getting that across the board a bit more at the moment, where politics is becoming really polarised. You're either absolutely for someone or absolutely against them. It's not actually that healthy.
No, it's nasty politics, isn't it?
This is where it ends up being really problematic.
It's democracy, and that's what Pavel was saying there. It's an attack on democracy, which is very concerning, isn't it? Unprecedented in Slovakia. So we will, of course, keep you abreast on any updates in the situation on GB News throughout the day.
Now, Donald Trump's hush money trial continues apace today as his former attorney, Michael Cohen, takes a stand once again.
Yes, during some intense cross-examination, Cohen admitted to calling the former president a crying little so-and-so and selling T-shirts with Trump in an orange jumpsuit.
Well, all this comes as President Biden has agreed to 2 televised election debates, with Donald Trump suggesting they debate every single month.
Well, let's speak now to US political analyst Eric Ham. Good to see you this morning, Eric. And let's start with Michael Cohen taking the stand, shall we? Bring us up to speed with what we've heard in court.
Well, Michael Cohen has been the actual link that ties Donald Trump to the falsification of business records. What we have not seen from the defense as of yet is a way to actually discredit his statements to the prosecution. Now, we have seen them use a lot of the colorful language that Michael Cohen has used when discussing his former boss, and also talking about how much money he has made bashing Donald Trump via his podcast and other opportunities to the tune of $3.4 million. But it's done very little to actually go to the heart of this case, which is the falsification of business records. And we've seen Michael Cohen already corroborate that with invoices as well as checks signed by Donald Trump. So hopefully we will see that either from the defense today when they continue their cross-examination, or if in fact they decide to actually bring witnesses themselves. The prosecution has already said that Michael Cohen will be their last witness that will testify. So they are expected to rest their case when the defense finishes their cross-examination. And of course, this entire case could go to the jury as early as next week, depending on if the defense brings any witnesses.
I mean, this is the fascinating thing with this case, really. And I know they've got to set out the groundwork. They've got to sort of show the circumstances in which all this was meant to have happened. But it all seems to be so far about the salacious side of all of this, rather than the sort of bones as to the prosecution, which is falsifying records, which in itself sounds pretty dull.
Yeah, that's right. And we actually got to the heart of that when Michael Cohen corroborated the invoice that showed Alan Weisselberg's handwriting that Donald Trump would reimburse Michael Cohen $130,000 plus the plus up for the taxes and bonuses, bringing it to the total of $420,000. And then when Michael Cohen says, after he and Alan Weisselberg discussed this, they walked to Donald Trump's office on the 26th floor of the Trump Tower, where they had the discussion with Donald Trump himself, and he agreed to it. And then Michael Cohen says that it felt as though this was a conversation that had already taken place. And then, of course, we get the corroboration where Michael Cohen is then receiving checks to the tune of $35,000 per month, and those checks are signed by Donald Trump himself.
And Eric, as we're talking about this, President Biden has now agreed to 2 television debates with Donald Trump. Trump even suggesting that they should debate every single month. Do you think this is something that we're going to see?
Absolutely not. I think what we saw was Donald Trump has been wanting these debates. And it's very interesting because what we saw from Joe Biden, every president of the United States has the bully pulpit at their command. And what we saw with how these debates actually came to fruition is Joe Biden actually acted like a bully. He actually gave the networks and Donald Trump the terms of which he would debate, and they took them. And so what we see is these debates are actually more advantage Joe Biden than Donald Trump because they eliminate live audiences. They will take place in an actual studio. And more importantly, what they will do is they will mute the microphones of each candidate after their time expires when speaking.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting how all these little bits and bobs, which sound a bit technical, actually do make a difference. But I'm intrigued as to... I mean, Donald Trump is obviously a very confident speaker, thinks he can play this to his advantage. Actually, these debates can be, as we've seen historically, they can make or break people if they get a little bit too arrogant.
Well, yeah, we saw that happen to George H.W. Bush in his debate against Bill Clinton when he was looking at his watch. And of course, we saw it as well with Al Gore with the size with George W. Bush. And those debates didn't work for either of them. But we have to also remember in 2016, many suggested that Donald Trump actually lost all 3 debates with Hillary Clinton, and that did not stop him from actually becoming president of the United States. I think it's also interesting that the first debate is scheduled to take place on June 27th. So we should actually have a verdict in Donald Trump's Manhattan hush money trial by then. And if it's a guilty verdict, that's a stain that he's going to have to wear into that debate. And it'll be interesting to see how that will play out.
Certainly will be. Eric Ham, good to see you, as always. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
I mean, these debates, honestly, can be so dangerous.
Well, you're right to raise that.
I'd forgotten about the sighing with Al Gore against George W. Bush way back when. But that was fascinating. If you remember that back at the time, he just sighed all the way through the answers.
Yeah.
And all this coming up actually I don't think it was just before a debate or just before the election, and it was leaked that George W. had been convicted of drink driving in his youth, and he had to, or in his younger days, and he had to admit to that, but it didn't throw him off course with the presidency, obviously.
Well, there you go. And like Eric was saying, after we get a result in this hush money trial, if that's a guilty verdict, it's a stain he's going to have to wear.
Will he wear it with pride, though? I don't know. It's a difficult.
Would it play into his hands?
Might
or play into his campaign? It could do.
All bets are off, I think, as far as all that goes. Anyway, let us know what you think on gbnews.com/yoursay.
Now, should we have a look at the weather with Aidan?
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. We start the day with a lot of cloud, some showery rain as well, but gradually through the day there'll be a better chance of some warm sunshine developing, and likewise over the next few days, a greater chance of warm sunshine, less of a chance of showers, but certainly across parts of eastern England into the North Midlands, northern England, southern Scotland, there's this zone of cloud and outbreaks of on and off rain. Either side of that, as temperatures rise into the afternoon, some heavy downpours will break out, but in the far south as well as the far north and northeast, decent spells of sunshine by the afternoon. Cool in the northeast, 15 or 16 Celsius with some low cloud hugging the beaches. Warmer where we've got some sunny spells in the northwest and towards the south. In fact, southern England, as we end the afternoon and go into the evening, looking at some lovely sunshine, and you can see the marked contrast there across Devon and Cornwall, sharp showers developing to the north, and this zone of cloud and outbreaks of rain through the Midlands as well as Wales continuing. Northern Ireland, heavy showers or thunderstorms, and likewise for western Scotland. But for central, northern and eastern Scotland, that's where we'll see some clear blue skies, and inland out of the breeze. It's going to feel very pleasant in that sunshine. Now, the cloudy zone with those outbreaks of rain across Wales and the Midlands, that will continue through the night, but the rain will tend to ease. It will turn more showery. Many places will see a dry night, albeit with a lot of cloud remaining across a central slice of the UK. The best of any clear spells will be down towards the south and southeast, as well as across central and northern Scotland. Some mist patches first thing, certainly some low cloud along the North Sea coast, but otherwise, as the day progresses, we're going to see the cloud bubble up and break. We'll see some sunny spells developing, but once again, some heavy showers will form, especially through Wales, the Midlands, East Anglia, northwest England and western Scotland. Away from the showers in the sunshine, feeling very pleasant with highs of 23 Celsius.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, some very good news for you this morning. There's still plenty of time to win our biggest cash prize so far in our great British giveaway, a whopping £20,000.
Imagine having that in your bank account this summer. But you've got to be in it to win it. Here's how.
Don't miss your chance to win our biggest cash prize so far. A totally terrific £20,000 in tax-free cash to make your summer spectacular. You could use that cash to splash out on a holiday, make the garden glam, buy a new car, or just save it for a rainy day. Whatever you'd spend £20,000 on, make sure you don't miss the chance to make it yours. For another chance to win £20,000 in tax-free cash, text WIN to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB05 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 31st of May. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, best of luck with that one. Don't go anywhere. Paul Coyte's going to be here with all your sport in just a moment.
We're GB News, and we come from a proud tradition of British journalism.
That's why I'm so excited to be here. It's something so new.
The first news channel to be launched in Britain in over 30 years.
Launched to represent the views of the British people.
To go where other broadcasters refuse to go.
How did you find out about the story in the first place?
Launched with one aim.
To be the fearless champion of Britain.
It's an absolutely fantastic atmosphere here.
This is GB News.
The People's Channel. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
Our job is to do what's in the best interest of our country.
You made my argument for me. My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter, with a sharp take on every story.
I'm hearing it up and down the country. That was a beginning, not an end.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, every Sunday at 9:30 when I'll be interviewing the key players in British politics and taking them to task.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial.
With an upcoming election looming over Westminster, now is the time for clear, honest answers.
I agree.
And that's precisely what I'll get.
Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's election channel.
Just a quick one. Jane's been in touch saying, I'm an American and I watch GB News, so I don't have to watch anything about the US election. Please spare us. No, sorry.
Sorry.
There will be a lot of coverage. It is important. Sorry, Jane.
Yeah.
And we all feel like that about our local or national politics at times, don't we? Anyway, it's why we have moments of light relief with Paul
yes.
Coyte. Good morning.
Segue.
I take what I do very seriously. What are you saying?
Oh, sorry.
Extremely seriously.
Yeah, but it's not political.
No, it's not.
Which is the nice thing
Which
about
is
it.
very nice.
Yes.
Manchester United, 3. Newcastle,
0.
2.
Oh, 2. All right. Well, you're in the right direction.
See, the thing is, the inflection is the same, whether it's 2 or 0. So I know Newcastle, 2. You never know what you're going to get with Manchester United. It's a funny old one, isn't it? 1 minute they're terrible, the next minute they're OK. Erik ten Hag, the manager, 50-50, I think, whether he's going to stick around or whether he's going to go. He stood in front of the crowd at Old Trafford yesterday and gave a little speech, did what he did and spoke to the crowd and, thanking everybody for their wonderful support.
Oh,
but, the other thing, I don't know whether you're aware of this, but at the end of the season, every club does this. And they call it, instead of a lap of, a lap of honour, it's a lap of appreciation.
Oh.
In other words, so if you don't actually win anything, you can't exactly call it a lap of honour. So what the idea is, and it's happened for years, is that the players will go onto the pitch and they'll walk around and they'll wave. The idea is they wave to the fans and say thank you very much. But over the years, every club's doing this, and I tell you what, it's so getting under my skin, is that then it started where you would get the children of the teams will come out. So you get a small child with the kit with Daddy written on. It's been done so many times. So then the wags will go on, the wives and girlfriends, then the friends, and then you end up with just this gaggle of people all going around, but nobody actually paying any attention to the crowd. All they do is just go on a walk, and it's like, oh, well, look, I'll show you where I work. And it's happening too much. Something has to be done about it.
Yeah,
because they're forgetting the fans, and I think the fans is the most important thing.
Of course, yeah. Should we talk about Celtic?
Sorry, did I get on my high horse?
No, it's good.
No.
It's
Is
good.
that all right? It upsets
valid.
me a little. Chelsea beat Brighton because I mentioned managers that could be in trouble. Mauricio Pochettino. People say, oh, yeah, Mauricio Pochettino looks like he's on his way out, but 4 on the trot now for Chelsea. Could well qualify for Europe as well. So they are looking much, much better. They were 13 points behind Spurs only a couple of weeks ago. Now it's only down to 3 with 1 game to go.
Okay.
So there we are.
Celtic.
Sorry, Celtic. I know you want to talk about Celtic.
Yes, I do, yes.
But the thing is, it's they won the Scottish title yesterday. They thrashed Kilmarnock and they won it again.
Yeah.
It's the 700th time they've won the Scottish Premiership.
In the last 13 years.
In the last 13 years. Yeah. They're doing extremely well. But the thing is, we know that, and I don't want to take anything away from Celtic, but it's either Rangers or Celtic. So Celtic, they've done it with after thrashing Kilmarnock, so well done to them. But again, it's their 12th and 13th, so it's standard. That's what happens. That's what happens.
Here's one, then. VAR. Could we see it go?
Well, they're actually going to have a VAR check on whether the VAR can stay or go. The VAR, which is...
take about 20 minutes.
Well, exactly, yeah, they'll take like that. Well, shall it, shan't it? We're not really sure. It's driving everybody crazy. It has done forever. In the years that it's been here, which has been 5 years now, is it making the game any better? Is it? I don't know whether it is. I've always said that VAR, we should have VAR because it's evidence. Yeah. It's video evidence of what's been going on, but it's the way it's being used, and the problems are... There's so many problems. Wolves are the ones that have actually... they've put a proposal together for when all the league teams meet, all the Premier League teams meet, and so they will decide on different rules. And Wolves have put forward that they have it scrapped. Now, they've had more bad VAR decisions than any other team because there's even a league of how bad it's been. So they've said they want it scrapped. It'd be interesting because I think clubs probably are not too happy with it, but... The evidence is there. It's something that should be used, but it's just used so badly. Yeah. And if everything takes so long, if you're watching a game, you don't know what's going on. Everybody celebrates. The worst thing is when you celebrate and you just give something... Oh, absolutely... you cock a hoop win sometimes when your team scores, but then you have to wait 10 minutes and it's like, oh no, and it's just taken away from you. And that's not really, so it's not not for the good of the game.
See, I can't work out if you're for or against scrapping it after all of that.
Me?
If you had to make a decision right now, scrap or stay?
I don't know. No, I'd say keep, but...
No, you can't.
There's got to be... OK, just throw the thing out.
Right, there you go.
But everybody's going to complain about the decisions after that and go, oh, no, that's not fair. And you go, well, you threw it out, so what are you going to do? There's always going to be arguments.
Always. Paul Coit, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Let us know what you think about that. gbnews.com/yoursay.
Still to come, we're going to take you through the front pages with Lewis Oakley and Lynn May. That's in the papers next.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Perth and Kinross, the A85 is closed in both directions west of the A9, west of Perth, where a vehicle's overturned. On the M90 in Perth and Kinross, there's a lane closed southbound where a lorry caught fire between junctions 11 and 10 from Perth to Craigend. Delays are possible to some Calmac Firth of Clyde sailings because of a technical problem. On the M25 in Surrey, there's no fuel clockwise, but the Clacton Lane services because of a technical problem. It's between junctions 5 and 6 from the M26 to Godstone. In Kent on the A249, there are southbound queues towards junction 5 of the M2 at the Stockley roundabout at Sittingbourne because of road works. In Cornwall, there's a report that a lorry's broken down on the A38 at Double Boys, and on the A39 in Cornwall, delays are possible because of a fire at Ponchardon Boatyard at Cargilliac. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Now, as some of you may know, we've been nominated for a Trick Award again in the Best News Programme category and also Best News Presenter. So we could do with your help to win. All you have to do is head to poll-trick.org.uk and all of the details are there, also on gbnews.com. And if you've got your phone on your lap now, you can head up to this screen, take a picture of that QR code, and it will also lead you to the website and you can vote there. So please do. We'd love your votes, and it would be fabulous to win for a second year, wouldn't it?
It would. It really would. Very good. I always might look at those and think, how do QR codes work?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Very good question.
Very complicated, but very clever.
Yes.
Well, there you go. Yes, love your...
That's your homework this morning, please.
Yeah, it'd be good to have your support on that one today.
Thank you.
In the meantime, let's look at some of the newspaper front pages for you.
Yes, The Telegraph leads with NHS managers destroying the careers of whistleblowers who raise concerns about patient safety.
The Guardian has the Slovakian Prime Minister left fighting for his life after an assassination attempt.
The Express leads with pensioners rushing to cash in on their pensions early to help combat the cost of living.
The Mirror this morning has Sir Keir Starmer's 6-point pledge to win the general election.
The Mail leads with Europe on edge after the pro-Russian Slovakian PM was gunned down.
OK, let's go through some of those and some other stories as well with writer and podcaster Lewis Oakley and political commentator Lynn May. Good to see you both this morning, Lynn. Let's start with you, should we? with the Times and these 6 pledges from Sir Keir Starmer.
Yeah, so Keir Starmer has released these 6 pledges. Number 1, deliver economic stability. 2, cut NHS waiting times. 3, launch a new border command. 4, set up Great British Energy. 5, crack down on antisocial behaviour. 6, recruit 6,500 new teachers. Now...
Great, sounds great, doesn't it?
Sounds great, but if we just take a look at also Labour's history, he's done so many U-turns as it is already. I actually don't know who his target audience is anymore, because the original Labour voters are looking at this and they're thinking, well, this just looks like a carbon copy of similar to Tory light, they've coined it. Deliver economic stability. What does that mean? There's no actual depth or anything to that. But we know that he or his party is not massively a fan of small business ownership, property ownership, cut NHS waiting times. How is he going to do that? Wes Streeting, you know, the shadow health secretary and social care, has already said there's no more cash for the NHS. He's admitted this.
Yes, but to be fair to Wes Streeting, he has come up with, you know, he's got his own table of reforms. So people say, don't they, that Labour is able to reform the NHS more than the Tories could ever do, because there's more willingness to allow them to do it because they're more trusted with the system.
I don't know if I agree with that, because when we hear about, you know, a lot of anti-Tory rhetoric, it comes from a place of they're the ones that want to privatise the NHS. But if we look back, historically, it was actually under the Labour Party where they had these initial privatisation contracts initially. And what Wes Streeting has actually suggested is do not be shocked if we have to look at the private sector to be able to fund the NHS moving forward. So that does sound like a bit of privatisation from the Labour Party.
Possibly.
It's going to be very interesting, isn't it? I think what we need is more detail. We can't just have 6 pledges that make no sense. I mean, I read these and I was quite shocked. Like, this is what you came up with? I mean... This is odd. I mean, even the recruit, and I'm sure people will tweet their anger at me, but recruiting 6,500 new teachers just seemed like an odd one to have in there. Not that we probably don't need more teachers, but where on earth is house building in this? Probably one of the biggest issues that we face, that no one can afford a home and we need to build more towns. We're past needing more houses, we need more towns. But also security, as people keep talking about World War III and the threats. Where is our security?
There's nothing in there.
You know, and not just building out an army, but, you know, having security with our food supply chain and things like that.
Yeah, but how would you build that into a pledge? I mean, they have to go for simple, catchy things, don't they?
I
mean, whether you agree with them or not.
I honestly, if you took this paper away from me, I probably couldn't recall about... I couldn't recall about 4 of them.
The one thing I do like is when he speaks about cutting down migration, he also suggests that they're going to reform how they assist young people in getting into those jobs that young people presently do not want to participate in, so that we become less reliant on, you know, migration. And if that does happen, that's what's needed, because it's all well and good saying we need to stop immigration, we need to cut down migration, but if no one wants to do the jobs, we need a labour force. So I'm interested to see if they actually support young people into the jobs that they no longer want to do. However, if we look at the history of the Labour Party, from 1997 to 2010, on average, there were 200,000 people coming into this country. So they haven't been really that good when it comes to migration in the past.
Well, yeah, all right. I mean, you could look at that figure and go, well, that's not very good. It's a hell of a lot less than are coming in now.
Well, yeah, that's going to be an obvious, isn't it?
If we said next year there'd be 200,000 net migration, we'd all be cheering, wouldn't we? Because it's cutting it by 3/4 of what it currently stands at.
Yeah, but as we know, there's a lot more movement in the world anyway, and the reason why we've had more migration recently is for a number of reasons. If we look at devastation in other countries, if we look at war, I think now is the most unstable time as to why many people are wanting to come here anyway.
I'm really interested in this speech being made by Sir Keir Starmer in Essex today, and wanting to appeal to the Essex man, which is, of course, what we saw Tony Blair want to do in the 90s.
Yeah, Mondeo man, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
Mondeo man, exactly. But do you think those 6 pledges would appeal to Tory heartlands like Essex, there's not even a single Labour MP, and the Red Wall as well, because that's who they want to go after.
I'm not sure that it will appeal to them, but I also don't think it really matters because so many people are mad at the Tories, and that's been Labour's entire strategy until now, is we're not the Tories. So does it really matter what his pledges are? I mean, I think that you look at the polls, it seems pretty conclusive what's going to happen whenever we get this election. And look, here's the thing. Whilst I personally am not enthusiastic about either of these parties or what they could offer, you know, I hope to God that he can turn this country around because we're not in a great place. Like, yes, please, let's hope these pledges work and let's hope that he can carry people with him and he can deliver change. I just wouldn't hold my breath.
Well, I live in Essex and I think all people want is to be able to feed their families, live in a decent home, and this just sounds a little bit like a lot of guff.
Yeah.
OK, well, let us know what you think, gbnews.com/you'll say. Lewis, let's look at the situation in Slovakia, shall we? And the Prime Minister there fighting for his life after a shooting yesterday.
Yeah, shocking scenes that we saw yesterday. So Prime Minister there is still fighting for his life. The gunman leaned in and fired 5 times, we're being told. Police said they detained a 71-year-old man. Interesting. So the Mail's take on this is very much Europe is on an edge and will Putin kind of use this to his advantage? And I think that the logic there is that this guy was obviously pro-Putin, so they're saying, well, was this attack ordered by someone? Was it politically motivated? However, it also reports that the alleged gunman made a confession in custody where he blamed the Prime Minister's crackdown on free media for the attack. Right. So it's quite complicated as to how this is going to play out politically. I do think that the wider issue here is about how safe are...
Well, he's a hugely controversial politician.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bottom line, and there is this crackdown on free media in the country, which is obviously problematic. I mean, it's... You know, it's not as straightforward as perhaps we would view it over here.
No, absolutely
not.
not.
To justify it in any sense, but...
Yeah, I think this is maybe going to embolden or empower all of the countries that are leaning a bit more in support of Putin, in terms of, like, your Hungary and countries around that area.
But, I mean, even if you're not pro-Putin, you can stand against this, can't you? It's an attack on democracy.
Well, I think this is the wider thing, and I know we've had conversations in this country about how safe are MPs, and we've had MPs that say, look, I'm not running anymore because this is just too dangerous for me and my family, and obviously we're not at this level, but it is worrying across Europe of, you know, where, you know, there should be, you obviously should be able to challenge an MP, but to a physical violence is just a trend we don't want to see.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Growing.
Absolutely. Look, we've got to leave it there just for now. Lewis Oakley, Lynn May, thank you both very much indeed. We will catch up with you for longer next time. We're breaking away slightly early because the Education Secretary, Jillian Keegan, is standing by. Lovely to see you this morning. We were just talking about the Tory pledges, the Labour pledges. Oh, dear me. And one of our guests here was saying a lot of people sort of view these pledges as a bit wishy-washy, right, which I'm sure you'd agree with, but sort of saying that they're Tory light. But that's the point, isn't it? He's trying to win over those Tory voters who feel a bit homeless at the moment.
Well, they are Tory light. If you look at the one in my area, which I think to get 6,500 more teachers, we've actually got 27,000 more teachers since 2010 and 59,000 more teaching assistants, all without destroying our private school sector, which is an important part of the provision for SEND. So they're not only Tory light, they're actually quite destructive. In fact, it's the first time in our history we'll introduce a tax on education, and it will probably result in a bill for about £1.6 billion, so they're ill thought through as well.
You mentioned SEND there. For people who aren't aware, that means special educational needs and disabilities, doesn't it? Why does that play into the private sector?
Because 40% of the special educational needs provision is actually provided by small independent private schools. So when people think of private schools, they always think of the large ones that everybody knows. But there's 2,400 independent schools across our country, and many of them are providing provision either to councils or to parents who are paying for special educational needs. And none of this they've looked into because it's a really ill thought through policy, and it is to get fewer teachers than we've already got, additional since 2010. So it's really a very poor, very ill-defined and poorly thought through policy. And it will impact both the special educational needs sector, which we're trying to build more places because we know we've got more demand than we're keeping up with. And it will really impact that sector, as well as independent private schools that parents choose to send their kids to.
You're here today to talk about new guidance for relationships, sex and health education in schools. What does this mean for children and what does it mean for parents?
Well, we introduced guidance first in 2019. It was made statutory in 2020. It was reviewed in 2021. And we got quite a lot of people, teachers and head teachers, who said, you know, we need more clarity. We need to have a little bit more clarity on this. So we put an expert panel in place to put age limits in place. So that's one of the big things we're introducing, which is what's appropriate to be taught at what age. We're also making it crystal clear that it should be transparent to parents, and parents should be able to see the materials. They are the first educators of their children, so they should be able to see what's also going on in school. And we're also on top of our gender questioning guidance, which we published for consultation earlier on. We're also making it very clear that gender identity is a contested view and should not be taught as fact.
Right.
It should not be taught at all, actually.
OK. How? I mean, forgive me, but I mean, I know it's controversial, and I know people have very strong opinions of it, possibly because they don't necessarily have experience of it or know people who've been through this. But how is this not similar to Section 28, which has blighted the Conservatives for years now, when you say, well, there are certain things we're just not going to allow them to be taught because we don't think it's right?
Well, let's be absolutely clear, that is not the same as protected characteristics, which is, you know, the fact that there is people who can reassign their gender. That is different from gender ideology, which is, you know, the 72 genders, or there's different spectrums of a gender, or gendered fluidity, or everyone has a separate gender, like, you know, as well as everything else. So it's the ideology, which you know, nobody probably in you know, reading it would think was true, but it has sort of creeped into the debate. But protected characteristics absolutely are taught, and the fact that adults can reassign their gender absolutely are taught.
Yes, but forgive me, but you're saying then that you can't say that teachers can't say that you can be born into the wrong body, as it were. However, people who do feel like that and have transitioned are covered as a protected characteristic. Doesn't make a lot of sense, that, does it?
Well, no, it does make sense. I mean, obviously, we're all born with our biological sex, but people can choose to change their gender when they're adults. And of course, we have dealt with, in the gender questioning guidance, we've dealt with this subject very sensitively to make sure that we first of all, recognise the massive increase. Secondly, take account of what the Dr. Hilary Cass report said as well about there are some negative impacts. You've got to consider the impacts very carefully. It's not a neutral decision. It's not something that should be taken lightly. But that's all dealt with in our gender questioning guidance, which we've already published for questioning. And actually, none of these questions came up in relation to that. So I think that was, you know, that was considered to be the right balance between sort of kindness, compassion, care, and also how to deal sensitively with an issue, but also how to, you know, how to make sure that we protect single-sex spaces and things like that, fairness in sports, etc. So we have dealt with that in that other guidance. This guidance is about how we teach relationship, sex and health education, and it's introducing more guidance to teachers about what's appropriate at what age, and it's also making sure that it's crystal clear that all materials should be made available to parents. That's the main objective of this guidance. But we do reiterate what we have in the gender questioning guidance as well, because that's new guidance.
This guidance, though, has been criticised already, hasn't it? The Chief Executive of the Sex Education Forum has made the point that if topics are to be restricted to children, then children will go and find out information themselves, probably through pornography and other sites on the World Wide Web. I mean, they are exposing themselves to danger there.
Well, we deal with that as well in the guidance, how we make sure we prepare our children for some of the dangers they might see online. But don't forget, obviously we have parents who are the first educators of their children. Then we've put in place what we think is age appropriate, and it's kind of like a building. So you can talk about, the concepts, you can talk about certain aspects of relationship, but then you don't go into the more riskier elements and more dangerous elements until children are older, until children can understand. And there was a lot of concern about potentially some things being taught at a very young age. So we've tried to make sure, children stay as children as when they're a younger age. Then we build on that in secondary school, and then we build on that from the age of 13, 14, etc. So, we have put together an expert panel. It's not me who's done this and decided what's taught, who's taught what at what age. The expert panel has looked at it sensitively, obviously considered the environment such as the internet, and that is mentioned a lot of, that is mentioned in the guidance as well. But parents are also their children's first educators. This is not the only thing that children will get in terms of education.
Keegan.
Parents will also talk to their children.
I'm so sorry. We've got to leave it there, but good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's take a look at the weather.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. We start the day with a lot of cloud, some showery rain as well, but gradually through the day there'll be a better chance of some warm sunshine developing, and likewise over the next few days, a greater chance of warm sunshine, less of a chance of showers, but certainly across parts of eastern England into the North Midlands, northern England, southern Scotland, there's this zone of cloud and outbreaks of on and off rain. Either side of that, as temperatures rise into the afternoon, some heavy downpours will break out, but in the far south as well as the far north and northeast, decent spells of sunshine by the afternoon. Cool in the northeast, 15 or 16 Celsius with some low cloud hugging the beaches. Warmer where we've got some sunny spells in the northwest and towards the south. In fact, southern England, as we end the afternoon and go into the evening, looking at some lovely sunshine, and you can see the marked contrast there across Devon and Cornwall, sharp showers developing to the north, and this zone of cloud and outbreaks of rain through the Midlands as well as Wales continuing. Northern Ireland, heavy showers or thunderstorms, and likewise for western Scotland. But for central, northern and eastern Scotland, that's where we'll see some clear blue skies, and inland out of the breeze. It's going to feel very pleasant in that sunshine. Now, the cloudy zone with those outbreaks of rain across Wales and the Midlands, that will continue through the night, but the rain will tend to ease. It will turn more showery. Many places will see a dry night, albeit with a lot of cloud remaining across the central slice of the UK. The best of any clear spells will be down towards the south and southeast, as well as across central and northern Scotland. Some mist patches first thing, certainly some low cloud along the North Sea coast, but otherwise, as the day progresses, we're going to see the cloud bubble up and break. We'll see some sunny spells developing, but once again, some heavy showers will form, especially through Wales, the Midlands, East Anglia, northwest England and western Scotland. Away from the showers in the sunshine, feeling very pleasant with highs of 23 Celsius.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News. The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Perth and Kinross, the A85 is closed in both directions west of the A9, west of Perth, after a vehicle overturned. On the M90 in Perth and Kinross, there's a lane closed southbound where a lorry caught fire between junctions 11 and 10 from Perth to Craigend. Delays are possible to some Calmac Firth of Clyde sailings because of a technical problem. A1 in Nottinghamshire is partly blocked northbound by an accident just after the Ramby turn-off at Retford, causing delays. On the M25 in Surrey, there's no fuel clockwise at the Clackett Lane services between junctions 5 and 6. On the M26 in Kent, there are westbound queues towards the M25 because of roadworks. Also in Kent, there are queues on the A249 heading south towards the M2 at Sittingbourne because of roadworks. And in Cornwall, the A39 is closed each way at Penryn because of a fire at the Pontchartrain Boatyard. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
You really Ellie could be our next big winner with an incredible £20,000 in tax-free cash to play with this summer. What would you spend that on? Well, whilst you're thinking about it, listen to some of our previous winners getting that winning phone call from us.
I'm Charles. I'm on £18,000 cash. It was just amazing, and as soon as it goes into your bank account, it just changed. It's a life-changing thing. Just go for it. It's an absolute must. You must try and go for it.
The next winning call could be answered by you. For another chance to win £20,000 in tax-free cash, text PRIZE to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB05 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 31st of May. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good morning to you. It's 7 o'clock on Thursday, the 16th of May. Today, the Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer is set to reveal a 6-point plan if he comes to power, with the economy, NHS and immigration top of the agenda.
Yes, Sir Keir Starmer in Essex today with 6 reasons why Labour says you should make him the next Prime Minister. I'll bring you the details shortly.
Europe holds its breath. Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico fights for his life following surgery after being shot in a politically motivated attack.
Hundreds of people in Devon are struck down by what they describe as the worst ever illness after a parasite was discovered in the water.
Yes, don't drink the water. South West Water is telling customers don't drink it, don't clean your teeth with it either, after scores of people fall sick.
Queen Camilla reveals she won't be buying any more fur, so we're asking today, is it time to ban the sale of it?
And a group of RAF cyclists ride to a memorial site in the Netherlands in honour of an aircrew that were killed during the Dam Busters raids back in 1943.
The Dam Busters is remembered as one of the most daring missions of the Second World War, but it came at a great cost. Today, we're joining you live from the beach at Castricum on Zee in the Netherlands for a memorial service to a fallen aircrew.
And in the sport this morning, big clubs with under-fire managers had a good night last night. Manchester United beat Newcastle. Chelsea won away at Brighton. Celtic are Scottish champions again. And could VAR be scrapped for next season? Well, we can always hope.
If you've started the day with cloud and outbreaks of rain, some sunnier weather is on the way, either later today or the next few days. I'll have the full details in the forecast coming up soon.
Good morning to you. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is Breakfast on GB News.
If you think the country is going to pot, which I know a lot of you do, in fact, the world seems to be going to pot at the moment, perhaps we need to ask orangutans what to do.
Oh, do we? Is it that bad?
It's got that bad. No, it's in the Star.
We can't talk to each other anymore.
It's in the Star this morning. It seems like a typical Star headline, doesn't it? Chinwag with apes. Have a chinwag with apes. But actually, it's a serious scientific study.
Yeah.
That we could understand what orangutans, in particular, are talking about.
Really?
Because they have 1,033 distinct sounds that they make, which are like having conversations.
Oh, it's like a language.
It's like a language, and we're coming to apparently understand a little bit as to what they mean. So we could actually understand. And they're apparently very intelligent, orangutans.
Well, they are. Did you see that story the other day where an orangutan had a cut on his cheek? And it was the first time that scientists had seen an orangutan take a plant, cut it up, and then use it as medication.
Yeah.
And then the wound healed.
Clever, you see.
Very clever. So he knew exactly what to do. They're very intelligent.
So Dr. Wendy Erb says our research aims to unravel the complexities of orangutan long calls, which play a crucial role in their communication across vast distances in Indonesia.
Oh.
So they are having conversations.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So I mean, that'd be fascinating,
Oh, it
wouldn't
would be.
It's like
Would be
Planet of the
amazing.
Apes.
If you've ever seen videos of orangutans, they're so human-like, the way they carry themselves. They use all their fingers and... Yeah,
But they've got... It's something like with apes, we share something like 99% of the DNA.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
So, but anyway, so soon we could have... Give it a few years, we could have a conversation with an ape. I think that'd be fascinating.
That'd be fabulous,
actually.
wouldn't it?
They might make more sense.
Wow.
What would you do about immigration? Yeah. See what they say.
They might have better ideas, who knows?
They might do.
Yeah. Oh, I do quickly need to shout out.
Oh.
I was in my Pilates class yesterday, which won't surprise you, because I'm there all the time. If you follow my Instagram, you would understand. I literally lived there. Anyway, lovely girl I met yesterday, Catherine.
Catherine?
Yeah, and I was on the carriage, they call it a carriage, and my legs were through the loop.
Pardon?
In the loop.
Is that a thing?
It's the thing. And she said, "You're Ellie from the telly." And she said, "I watch you and Stephen every Thursday, and I adore you both. And please, can I have a shout-out tomorrow?" So, Catherine, good morning to you. Happy Thursday.
Ellie from the telly.
I promised I'd do that.
That's just reminded me that there was... I was meant to...
Have you got a shout-out as well?
Well, I was meant to do it on Sunday, but then I wasn't here.
Oh, well, let's do it now.
So I'm just trying to find it.
Catherine and her mum, Teresa, I think she said her mum was called, and they watch it together.
Oh, here we
so-
go. Here we go. And
There
so
you go.
this was meant to be on Sunday, but I say I wasn't in. And this is from Duncan, who says, could you ask Stephen to wish a happy birthday to my son? My son served 9 years in the army with tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. I lost him in 2021 because of PTSD. All family and friends are going to his grave on the day. But what would pick me up is Stephen wishing him a happy birthday before I set off to the cemetery. I'm sorry I wasn't able to do it on Sunday. But if you are watching, Duncan, happy birthday, DJ, for Sunday. And I'm sure he's sorely missed.
Yeah.
But
Happy
there you
birthday,
go.
DJ. And he will be, yeah. May he rest in peace.
Yet another veteran taking their own life because of PTSD. It's an issue which really needs to be addressed because it happens a frightening number of times, actually.
No, it does. Awful, just awful.
Anyway, let's hope that's something addressed by politicians, actually, whoever wins the next general election.
I think everybody would support that.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? Because the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, is today unveiling his 6 election pledges to the country. The armed forces don't actually fall into this time.
No, well, they do include maintaining economic stability, cutting NHS waiting times, launching a new border command.
Also setting up Great British Energy, cracking down on antisocial behaviour and recruiting 6,500 new teachers.
Well, let's get the thoughts of our political correspondent now, Catherine Forster. Very good morning to you, Catherine. Good to see you. And they do echo, don't they, the 5 pledges made by Tony Blair in 1997.
Yes, and good morning again, Stephen and Ellie from the telly. I love that. They do indeed echo Tony Blair. Back in the run-up to the 1997 landslide, he had a pledge card of 5 pledges that included things like cutting NHS waiting lists, pledges for education and crime, etc. But Sir Keir Starmer has gone one further because he's been talking about his 5 national missions for months and months, but they haven't really got much cut through. So he's distilled them into what Labour feel are a sort of retail offer, easily understandable by voters, and added one extra, which is the one about launching the new border command, the big reveal that we had last Friday, Labour's plans to crack down on the Channel crossings. So these pledges, economic stability, Labour are wanting to make sure that people understand that they were safe to vote for Labour in a way that many people didn't feel they were safe to vote for Labour under Jeremy Corbyn, that they're going to be careful custodians of the economy. Of course, that's really going to severely limit what they can do. More teachers, cracking down on antisocial behaviour, etc. So Keir Starmer will be in Essex today, where Labour currently don't have a single seat. So the sort of area where they want to be picking up voters in the general election. And they're hoping that pledges on health, on immigration, on education, on crime will appeal to voters. The Great British Energy, that's one I didn't mention earlier. Of course, that's their plans for a nationalised energy company, because they feel that we've neglected energy security for many years, as the Russian invasion of Ukraine showed. So we've just had Jillian Keegan, the Education Secretary, saying that these are Tory light policies. But Sir Keir Starmer will be hoping that these will cut through to voters. And to be honest, Labour are so far ahead in the polls that even if there still isn't wild enthusiasm for him particularly, or indeed for Labour, that's probably going to be enough to get them into power.
OK, Catherine, for now, thanks very much indeed. Right, there's a real problem for people living in the southwest of England at the moment. You just cannot drink untreated water. You need to deal with it at home.
Yes, they're being urged to boil their water to kill off a parasite which has left hundreds of people with diarrhoea, vomiting and stomach pains.
Let's talk to Jeff Moody, who's in one of the towns affected for us this morning. I mean, this is grim, Jeff.
70 people first became ill on Tuesday. The symptoms are severe diarrhoea, but worse than that, really bad stomach cramps, which some people have been comparing to childbirth. They say 70 people have been affected, but we are hearing that it's an awful lot more. It could be hundreds and hundreds of people. The population of Brixham here in South Devon is 16,000, and people are saying that somebody is sick in every household in the town. It's that severe. Well, what is it that's caused this? Initially, South West Water said, look, it's nothing to do with us. It's nothing to do with the water. You can drink the water as normal. But then yesterday at 1 p.m, that advice changed completely. South West Water found around 20 cases of Cryptosporidium, which is a parasite that lurks in water. We're not quite sure at the moment how this has happened or what has caused this, but what we do know is it is highly infectious. It can transmit from animals to humans. It can transmit from humans to humans too. Well, South West Water say they are investigating. There are stations dotted around the town where they're giving out bottled water to people. And the advice they're giving at the moment is simple. Don't drink the water. You can boil it, fine, but do not drink water from the tap, and also don't even clean your teeth with it. They say you can wash with it too, but you mustn't, on any condition, drink the water. That's the advice that they're being given. But people here in Brixham are angry because they're saying, we knew this several days ago. We knew it was something to do with the water. South West Water categorically denied it and then did this U-turn, which they said has led to a lot of other people being sick too. So in a way, it really is a town under siege, a sickness in nearly every household, and people really unsure of the advice because it is changing so rapidly. And all the time, people are getting more and more ill.
OK, Jeff Moody, thank you very much indeed.
It's grim. If you're down there, you want to get in touch, gbnews.com/yoursay on that one. I mean, as Jeff said, they say it's safe to wash in. I'd be a bit worried.
Yeah, I would be too.
Honest, getting into a bath of water filled with a parasite. I mean, it's just
No, I don't know
grim.
if I'd risk it, no. But you can understand, he was just saying
what do you do, then? Not wash
baby
for a
wipes.
Week? Oh.
It'd be like being at a festival. You'd have to treat it like that. I don't think I'd be washing in it. But if you are affected, do get in touch. It'd be really good to hear from you this morning. gbnews.com/yoursay. As Jeff says, you would be very rightfully angry. Furious that you'd be without drinking water for a week. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Grim. Now, it is the 81st anniversary of the Dam Busters' Second World War raid today, that famous raid.
But the mission to destroy dams in the heart of Nazi Germany came at a great cost. 53 airmen died in the attack, including the crew led by Dingy Young, who was shot down just moments from safety.
Well, this week, a team of RAF cyclists have been riding 300 miles from their base at RAF Digby in Lincolnshire to a war memorial in the Netherlands, marking the place the crew perished.
Well, let's speak now to our reporter, Will Hollis, who is in the Netherlands for us now. Very good morning to you, Will. It's so important, isn't it, that these brave men are honoured and remembered in this way?
Yes, well, it's a story that British children are raised on. Dam busters on pretty much every Christmas in most British households. But that story today is 81 years old. Men from the Squadron 617, that is one of the most famous in all of the Royal Air Force, left RAF Scampton on this night, the 16th of May, 1943. Their target was the industrial heartlands of the Ruhr Valley, 3 different dams. Now, of the 133 men, 19 Lancasters that headed out on that daring mission, 53 men did not return, including the crew of Dinghy Young. They successfully breached the Myrna Dam, and on flying to safety here above the beach at Castricum-on-Sea, they were shot down by one of the final German battery guns. It's described that they were only meters, moments from safety, and in the days afterwards, their bodies of all 7 air crew were washed ashore on this beach. Now, a few years ago, a memorial stone was put in place on the beach here at Castricum-on-Sea. And today, and this week, to mark the 81st anniversary, another team of RAF cyclists have been riding their way from the International Bomber Command Centre in Lincoln all the way to the beach. They arrived yesterday and they had a moment looking at the memorial and marking the memory. But today there is a memorial service with family members of Dinghy Young's crew, local dignitaries, the International Bomber Command Centre, and those men and women of the RAF cycling team from RAF Digby, remembering a story that is starting to be forgotten from modern memory.
It's fascinating, Will, that these people from RAF Digby, it goes to show it's not just about our public knowledge, but actually for people actually in the armed forces, this really matters, doesn't it? It really matters to remember and honour their predecessors.
Yes, well, in about an hour or so, we'll be speaking to some of those RAF cyclists. But in the last week, while I've been meeting with some of them, including Wing Commander Neil Hallett, he described to me that this is their heritage. It is a part of their identity as men and women in the Royal Air Force, particularly in Lincolnshire, Bomber County, Bomber Command, where many of the bomber bases were situated, and it is a part of their memory that they must keep living. And while it is a distance away from Lincolnshire to Netherlands, they wanted to ride that 300 miles in all sorts of conditions, the heat that we saw at the start and the end of last week, to the rainy conditions of the Netherlands today, because they say there are no members of that squadron anymore, no more men from 617 that flew the Dam Busters mission. But they say there are people here living today that want to keep the memory of men like Dinghy Young and his crew, of Guy Gibson and the other 53 men of the Dam Busters that did not return home, and keep that memory alive.
It's so important to keep that story alive. Will Hollis, really good to see you this morning. Thank you very much indeed. You know, I was walking around Paddington last week, on that lovely sunny day that we had, and walked past this lovely white house, and it actually had a member of the Dam Busters raid. I think it was one of the pilots who had died, and there was a blue plaque outside the house saying...
that's where they'd lived.
And that's where they'd lived at some point. I can't remember the name now. I've just had a little look. It may have been Guy Gibson. I'm going to take a walk by that house and I'll let you know. But there are memories everywhere, and it's so right that they are remembered and honoured in this way. And I saw that blue plaque just last week.
Oh, there you go. It is important to remember this. Of course, Bomber Command and all that, I mean, it took ages for them to get the correct recognition, really. They're almost a bit forgotten about, which is terrible. But, I mean, Dam Busters was the most incredible British ingenuity creating the bouncing bomb. It was Britain at its finest, actually, coming together in the face of all that adversity and coming up with these sort of solutions. Remarkable stuff. But quite right that these people who never made it home are remembered in the way they are being remembered today.
No, absolutely.
Keep your thoughts coming through on that one. John Andrews, well, it's a fair point. He says, memory of the Dam Busters will erode as the airbase is turned into a migrant base, which has been very controversial, actually, because it was viewed as a sort of site of national heritage in a way, but quite how far they've gone with turning it into a place to house migrants, I don't know. We sort of lost track on that one. We'll have to look into that one again. But it's a fair point, John. It's a fair point.
Now, at 18 minutes past 7, some of you may know that we have been nominated for a Trick Award in the Best News Programme category and Best News Presenter. So we could really do with your help to win for a second year in a row, please. All you have to do is head to poll-trick.org.uk and all of the details are there, also on gbnews.com, and also this QR code on your screens now. If you get your phone camera out and pop it up to that QR code on the screen, you'll be able to be directed to the website. And
as long as you take that strap off.
Yeah, and pop your vote in there. It would be really good to have your vote. That would be lovely, wouldn't it, to win for a second year in a row?
Would be lovely, yes. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
More important, I'll tell you what's more important, is just that you are watching and our figures are going up and up and up. Despite what you may read from other people, our figures are going really well. So it's that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
But it's nice to be in the running again.
It is. No, it's always nice, isn't it? But it's just good to have you with us every morning, so thank you very much indeed. Should we have a look at the weather?
Oh, well, let's.
Shall we, with Aidan?
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. We start the day with a lot of cloud, some showery rain as well, but gradually through the day there'll be a better chance of some warm sunshine developing, and likewise over the next few days, a greater chance of warm sunshine, less of a chance of showers, but certainly across parts of eastern England, into the North Midlands, northern England, southern Scotland, there's this zone of cloud and outbreaks of on and off rain. Either side of that, as temperatures rise into the afternoon, some heavy downpours will break out, but in the far south, as well as the far north and northeast, decent spells of sunshine by the afternoon. Cool in the northeast, 15 or 16 Celsius with some low cloud hugging the beaches. Warmer where we've got some sunny spells in the northwest and towards the south. In fact, southern England, as we end the afternoon and go into the evening, looking at some lovely sunshine, and you can see the marked contrast there across Devon and Cornwall, sharp showers developing to the north, and this zone of cloud and outbreaks of rain through the Midlands, as well as Wales continuing. Northern Ireland, heavy showers or thunderstorms, and likewise for western Scotland. But for central, northern and eastern Scotland, that's where we'll see some clear blue skies and inland out of the breeze. It's going to feel very pleasant in that sunshine. Now, the cloudy zone with those outbreaks of rain across Wales and the Midlands, that will continue through the night, but the rain will tend to ease. It will turn more showery. Many places will see a dry night, albeit with a lot of cloud remaining across the central slice of the UK. The best of any clear spells will be down towards the south and southeast, as well as across central and northern Scotland. Some mist patches first thing, certainly some low cloud along the North Sea coast, but otherwise, as the day progresses, we're going to see the cloud bubble up and break. We'll see some sunny spells developing, but once again, some heavy showers will form, especially through Wales, the Midlands, East Anglia, northwest England and western Scotland. Away from the showers in the sunshine, feeling very pleasant with highs of 23 Celsius.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, some good news for you this morning. There is still plenty of time to win our biggest cash prize so far, a whopping £20,000.
Yeah, imagine having that in your bank account this summer. But, of course, you've got to be in it to win it. So here's how.
Don't miss your chance to win our biggest cash prize so far. A totally terrific £20,000 in tax-free cash to make your summer spectacular. You could use that cash to splash out on a holiday, make the garden glam, buy a new car, or just save it for a rainy day. Whatever you'd spend £20,000 on, make sure you don't miss the chance to make it yours. For another chance to win £20,000 in tax-free cash, text WIN to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB05, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 31st of May. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck indeed. Now, Queen Camilla has reportedly said that she is no longer going to buy any fur. So this morning we're asking the question, is it time to ban it? Let us know what you think, gbnews.com/yoursay. We're going to be talking about that next.
I'm Gloria Di Piero. This is GB News, Britain's election channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, every Sunday at 9:30 when I'll be interviewing the key players in British politics and taking them to task.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial.
With an upcoming election looming over Westminster, now is the time for clear, honest answers.
I agree.
And that's precisely what I'll get.
Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's election channel.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
Our job is to do what's in the best interest of our country.
You made my argument for me. My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter, with a sharp take on every story.
I'm hearing it up and down the country. That was a beginning, not an end.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're GB News, and we come from a proud tradition of British journalism.
That's why I'm so excited to be here. It's something so new.
The first news channel to be launched in Britain in over 30 years.
Launched to represent the views of the British people. To go where other broadcasters refuse to go.
How did you find out about the story in the first place?
Launched with one aim.
To be the fearless champion of Britain.
It's an absolutely fantastic atmosphere here.
This is GB News. The People's
Channel. GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Nigel Farage, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Gloria Di Piero, bringing you
PMQ's live here on GB News.
Whenever Parliament is in session on a Wednesday at midday, we'll bring you live coverage of Prime Minister's questions. We'll be asking our viewers and listeners to submit the questions that they would like to put to the Prime Minister, and we'll put that to our panel of top politicians in our Westminster studio.
That's PMQ's live here on GB News, Britain's election channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Now, at 7:27, let's turn our attention to the Israel-Hamas war. The Israeli Defence Minister, Yoav Gallant, has voiced open frustration at the government's failure to address the question of a post-war plan for Gaza.
Well, he urged Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to declare publicly that Israel has no intention to take over civilian and military rule in Gaza.
Well, joining us in the studio is Shirley Pinto, who's Ambassador for Public Diplomacy at the Israeli Foreign Ministry. Very good to see you this morning.
Good morning.
How much of a concern is this, that there is now this very public rift in the cabinet?
Look, the State of Israel is a democratic state, and it's not rather, it's a different opinion inside the cabinet about the way how to achieve the goal of the war. There is a different thinking between the ministry, but I think that in the end, they will be the way they decide how to do it together. Also, all the people in Israel very support the state and the government to achieve the goal of the war, because our goal, a lot of people asking me, Why the state of Israel in a war against Hamas now? And this question showed me that they forgot what happened to the state of Israel and civilians about a year ago, in October 7. There is more than 132 civilians kidnapped in Gaza, in the tunnels of Hamas. We don't know what the condition, if they're alive or dead. We don't know where they are. The children, babies, women. It's crazy. Think about it. What England was doing. If a terrorist organization enter to their country and kidnap your civilians, what you have done? Did you have been silent? I'm sure you're not. It's crazy to think about it, but this is what happened to us in Israel. So there is different idea about how to do and achieve and to return the hostages back home, but we all want to do that.
Have you been surprised by the world's reaction to the situation in Gaza? Do you think the world has been quick to forget the events of the 7th of October?
Yeah, I really do think that they forgot. I met a lot of organizations, not Jewish organizations here in the United States, and one person asked me, why you continue the war against Hamas? Okay, they shooting rockets on Israel, but you can stop it. Why we are in war now? I asking you, just because of fun? It's not fun to us to be at war. We want our civilians back home. There is civilians in the tunnels of Hamas in Gaza. We had a terrible massacre in October 7. They raped women. They broke the ceasefire that was in October 6. So it's crazy that people forgetting that.
It's about what they talk about, a proportional response, don't they? I mean, there is concern even within Israel that the response has been disproportionate. A lot of people have sympathy with what Israel is going through, but feel the response has been too harsh because of civilians involved.
Look, the situation is Gaza. I'm not closing your eyes about what happened in Gaza. We are at war. There are civilians there, and I know that the state of Israel and the army and the IDF doing everything not to hurt the civilians in Gaza. We're trying to do all the efforts to let them know, to help them with the humanitarian aid. Our war is against Hamas. It's a terrorist organization. We want to destroy the terrorist organization, not the civilians, for sure. And we want to return our hostages back home. This is our goal for the war. It's make me sad that Hamas didn't care about their civilians. Did not take care of them. For example, all the humanitarian aid of the truck that Israel let into Gaza. I asking you, there is a crossing that the truck is coming inside Gaza from there. After they coming inside Gaza, what do you think happened to all the humanitarian aid? The driver is coming and let all the food go into the civilians. It's not what happened. You can see in the video that's public. What happened is all the terrorist organization, all the Hamas is taking the trucks and keep it for themselves.
There is real concern, though. It's back to the first point about your defence minister. There's real concern about what they call the exit plan in all of this. And it seems like, unless the Prime Minister makes a clear decision, that there could be a case of an Israeli military control of Gaza. Now, that isn't going to satisfy anybody, is it?
I don't think, my personal opinion, I don't think that Israel need to control in Gaza, not a military way. I think after we turn back our hostages home and destroying the terrorist organization Hamas, we need to get out from there. That's my opinion. But we have to make sure that the terrorist organization Hamas will not control in there, and another terrorist organization also. We need to make a plan with another maybe organization, more country involved to help to rebuild the Gaza and help the civilians there. But we must make sure that terrorist organization will not control there anymore.
As an ambassador for public diplomacy for Israel's foreign ministry, how have the past 7 months been for you in your role?
Very hard. I'm a mother. I'm deaf, like you can see. I'm a mother to 2 deaf children. My husband is deaf. My parents are deaf. My mother, she's deaf and blind, actually. And in October 7, it was terrified. There is a lot of alarms that I cannot hear. I don't know when there is alarms, when the rocket is coming. And in this morning, I get a lot of message from people with disability around Israel that calling for help. Blind people, people sitting in a wheelchair with CP, they don't have food, medication, clothes, don't have a shelter. And today, the situation of the people with disability in Israel is terrified because this population is making bigger because of PTSD. The hurting in October 7th, the soldiers that came back from the war, and the state of Israel have to make sure that they helping to these people. There is more 100,000 people with PTSD in Israel just now. It's a crazy situation, and I can imagine for myself what we can do for them. We have to fight to help them.
Well, Shirley Pinto, it's really interesting to see you this morning. Thank you very much indeed. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
OK. Lots more still to come for you this morning. And after Her Majesty the Queen said she won't buy any more real fur, we're asking, should we just ban the sale of it altogether? That's coming up in just a moment.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Perth and Kinross, the A85 is closed in both directions west of Perth after a vehicle overturned. On the M90 in Perth and Kinross, there's a lane closed southbound where a lorry caught fire between junctions 11 and 10 from Perth to Craigend. Delays are possible to some Calmac Firth of Clyde sailings because of a technical problem. Trains have been stopped between Manchester Airport and Manchester Piccadilly because of a points failure. On the M1 in Northamptonshire, 3 out of 4 lanes are closed southbound after an accident between junctions 16 and 15A in Northampton, causing queues. On the M25 from Kent into Surrey, there's no fuel clockwise at the Clacking Lane services again today between junctions 5 and 6 from the M26 to Godstone because of ongoing technical problems. And in Cornwall, the A39 is closed in both directions southeast of Penryn because of a fire at Pontchartrain Boatyard. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
2024, a battleground year.
The year the nation decides.
As the parties gear up their campaigns for the next general election.
Who will be left standing when the British people make one of the biggest decisions of their lives?
Who will rise?
And who will fall?
Let's find out together.
For every moment, the highs, the lows, the twists and turns.
We'll be with you for every step of this journey.
In 2024, GB News is Britain's election channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat zone.
Our job is to do what's in the best interest of our country.
You made my argument for me. My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter, with a sharp take on every story.
I'm hearing it up and down the country. That was a beginning, not an end.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
7:38, good morning to you. Now, the animal rights group PETA has revealed that Queen Camilla has pledged to buy no new fur products for her wardrobe.
But the International Fur Federation said that royals shouldn't be put under pressure from animal activists.
It begs the question then, should we just ban the sale of real fur altogether? To be honest, I thought we already had.
OK, well, we're joined now by former Conservative MP Neil Parish, who believes that we shouldn't ban real fur, and Senior PR Coordinator at PETA, Sasha Camilli, who believes, of course, that we should. So let's start with you, Sasha. Are you with Stephen? I'm sure a lot of people believe that we already had banned real fur. They're surprised that we're still able to buy it.
Well, yes, I can see, Stephen, why you thought that, because actually the UK was the first country to ban fur farming almost 25 years ago in the year 2000. So if you think about it, if something is too cruel and unethical to be produced here, then it doesn't make any sense to keep importing it from other places and selling it here, which is why it is a perfect time to ban the sale and import of animal fur. And it's a sign of the times that Queen Camilla, just like Queen Elizabeth before her, has decided not to procure any new fur items for her wardrobe. Over 90% of people in Britain don't want to wear animal fur. They don't want to support an industry where animals are gassed, poisoned, electrocuted, caught in steel jaw traps, kept in tiny, barren cages their whole lives. It's time to do away with this industry and leave it behind.
I mean, it does seem, Neil, like it's a thing of the past, real fur, a status symbol that we no longer need to have. I mean, the fake fur is now so realistic. Why would we even bother wanting the real stuff?
I think my position very much is it's a matter of choice, and I think consumers will decide, whether they want to wear real fur and, the way it's been reared. And now I would argue that the rearing of fur, certainly in Denmark and across Europe, is actually much better regulated. Now, I'm not here to justify all the means of producing the fur, but I think it's a matter of choice, and I think, consumers are choosing not to wear it. And if the Queen decides that she doesn't want to buy any new fur, that's very much a decision for her, and I would support that. But I would also say, as a matter of choice, we should be able to buy fur if we wish. It's not a zero-sum game either, because there's no doubt that many of the fake furs do give off a lot of particulates, all oil-based garments. So, there may be, in some cases, a real reason for health reasons for actually wearing fur. So that's why I don't like total bans. I just do not like them. And I just think that the arguments are put very succinctly on the other side, that it's not good to wear fur and the suffering that the animals may well go through. I very much support them being able to make that argument, but I still think a total ban is not appropriate. I also think quite difficult actually to implement, because I did an inquiry when I was chairing a select committee in Parliament where we were actually looking at a lot of false, fake fur actually was real fur, unfortunately, coming in from China. So I think there is a real difference, believe it or not, where the fur is produced. I can understand the ethics of whether you want to wear it or not, but I think let's not go for a total ban. I think less people are wearing fur, that will happen, and I think let's make sure we make the arguments on both sides. If you choose to wear fur and you're satisfied rightly that it's been produced in a way that you can accept, then I believe you should be able to buy it.
So you can hear Neil there saying a total ban is inappropriate, Sasha. What do you make of fur that is already in existence? We talk about fur coats that are in families or in vintage shops or charity shops. Do you think that they should be banned, or do you think that is sustainable to wear those time and time again, or would you say that is ethically wrong?
So, well, there's a few things there. First of all, we should remember that undercover investigations into countries such as Denmark, Finland, France, Poland, the Netherlands, Sweden have shown exactly the same abuse and mistreatment as we've seen on fur farms in other countries. Animals are still living in neglect. They're driven to insanity by confinement, and they're killed in the same violent ways. But going on to the point of already existing furs, so the ban would not be something that would ban fur from existing. It would ban commercial businesses from selling it. So it wouldn't be, if you have an old fur coat and you wear it you would face, you would be in any kind of trouble. The ban would be about businesses selling furs. And when it comes to people already owning fur, we have seen a huge wave of people who, like Queen Camilla, have had a change of heart about that. And so PETA operates a fur donation program where people can send their fur coats, and we get quite a lot of these. And what happens to them is that we donate them to homeless people, we give them to animal shelters for bedding, we've sent them to countries where people face difficulty and hardship, who we believe are the only people who are justified in wearing fur.
OK, sadly, we've got to leave it there, you two. It's a fascinating discussion. Sasha and Neil, thanks very much indeed.
We'll get in touch with your views on that, gbnews.com/yours. So be really interested to hear what you have to say on that one. We'll share as many as we can throughout the programme.
But we've got the papers heading away in just a moment with Lewis Oakley and Lynn May.
GB News is the home of free speech. We were created to champion it, and we deliver it day in, day out.
Free speech allows us all to explore and debate openly the issues most important to us, our families, and of course, the British people.
Having challenging conversations to enlighten each other.
Which is why we hear all sides of the argument.
We are the People's Channel.
We will always stand by the freedom to express yourself.
On TV, radio and online.
This is GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
So there are migrants who come here and they make a big contribution and they pay a lot of tax. And some types of migration from some countries, that's particularly the case.
On that, sorry, Neil,
others,
on that, you say migrants from the Middle East, North Africa and Turkey, aged 25 to 64, are almost twice as likely to be economically inactive as someone born in the UK. So essentially, we've invited people to come here. Presumably, we believe they're going to then work. And then they're twice as likely to be economically inactive. I mean, that's a recipe for economic disaster.
Yeah, so in the last census, we saw that the employment rate of people who are born in the UK is higher than the employment rate of people who have come here from another country. And that tells you that migration policy is not on track at all. And as I say...
Hang on, doesn't that just account for those dependents that are brought with them? So people from the Middle East and North Africa are much more likely to have, for example, a wife who stays at home and a husband who goes out to work. That largely would account for having half as much economic activity.
No, so I should have said, what I meant is even among those who are of working age, excluding the dependents and the children and so on, the employment rate is lower. Now, for some groups from some countries...
stay at home to look after children, perhaps?
Yeah, so there's a lot of people who are economically inactive for that reason. There's a lot more higher rates of unemployment as well among some groups. And if you look, broadly speaking, the trend is that people who come here from rich countries, from either Western Europe or from countries like Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the US and so on, they tend to have very high employment rates and very high earnings as well, and you get clearly a benefit from that. But then if you have a lot of migration from lower skilled people, particularly from poor countries, who have an incentive to come here, even if they're ending up working in the minimum wage, because it's still a lot more than in a very poor country, then you'll tend to see people who have either quite low rates of employment for the reasons you're just describing, and also potentially quite low wages as well. So they're very unlikely to be net contributors to
And
each
Neil,
other.
let's not pretend that the immigration debate is all about economics.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, every Sunday at 9:30 when I'll be interviewing the key players in British politics and taking them to task.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial.
With an upcoming election looming over Westminster, now is the time for clear, honest answers.
I agree.
And that's precisely what I'll get.
Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's election channel.
7:47, time for the papers now with writer and podcaster Lewis Oakley and political commentator Lynn May. Morning to you both. Lynn, let's start with the Express, should we? And people who are having to cash in their pensions early. This is grim, actually.
Yeah, so... As we know, we can now take out 25% of our pensions. But what we're seeing people do now is literally almost up to $47,000 taking out of their pension pot, whether that's to help their children get on the property ladder, for luxury holidays, or just to really help with struggling bills. Now, people are saying this is a worrying thing because there's going to be nothing left for them in their later years.
Yeah.
But my thing is, if you need the money now, are you just going to let it sit there and struggle now, or are you going to leave it to later?
Very difficult difficult to know. It's very difficult to... But you say if we all know that you can have a big pension pot in the great scheme of things, and they actually would get your annuity out, it doesn't pay for much.
Well, I would suggest, obviously I'm nowhere near that yet, but I would suggest really trying to save as much as possible because, as we know, cost of living is off the scales and state pension is only around $9,000 a year, which is absolutely peanuts.
I had a bleak conversation with a friend the other day where I was saying, do you really think you're going to retire? Like, just, you know, it's 66 now. I'm early 30s. So by the time I get to 66, what will that age have got up to? 70?
Yeah,
75? 80?
Easily. But I don't blame the government for increasing the age.
Yeah, well, no.
But then, so you know, I'm putting money away for my 80s, and am I going to get to my 80s? Should I just spend that money now and go on holiday?
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of young people are having the thought about now.
Well, it might be, but I mean that's totally fiscally irresponsible, isn't it?
Well, but we're also being told there aren't going to be enough people to pay our pensions anyway.
Yep, that's all.
We don't have enough people being born in the country that are going to pay them, because the money we're putting into pensions now is being paid out now.
Yeah, but
so we need kids in the future that aren't going to exist.
Well, we have a state pension.
Well, yeah, but that's your state pension, isn't it? We say, which is not what you're going to live off anyway. It's only $9,000 a year now. It's not going to be. It's going to be even less.
I do think we all need to definitely think about something other than the state pension. As I said,
we all need backups.
Yeah, you have to be able to, even if it's a small amount from now, you have to put away something.
Well, we had a bleak conversation yesterday. I went out for lunch with my mum. I won't say which restaurant we were in, but the waitress was into her 70s, and she came out. She was visibly struggling, and I said to my mum she shouldn't be working, and then my mum had a conversation with her at the end of the meal, and essentially she was saying she can't survive on a state pension. It's £9,000 a year. That's why she has to keep working, and she's in her 70s doing, you know, carrying heavy dishes.
That's going to be the story for many of my generation, you know.
And it must be happening up and down the country. So I mean,
but the sad thing is, the labour market don't really. They bypass when you get to about 65. Even though many people look fantastic, feel fantastic, physically, mentally amazing, you know, they'd rather employ, and that's where ageism comes into it, younger people.
You didn't order 2 soups, did you?
I didn't know.
Is that your thing, 2 soups?
No, you've got to be old enough to appreciate it. Google it if you don't know.
What's 2 soups?
I'll show you. It'll be on YouTube somewhere.
Oh, dear.
Look at the Telegraph, Lewis. Whistleblower doctors.
Yeah, this is an outrageous story. I can't believe we're not talking about it more, but NHS managers are destroying the careers of whistleblowers who raise concerns about patient safety. So this is more than 50 doctors and nurses that have told The Telegraph they've been targeted after raising concerns of upwards of 170 patient deaths and nearly 700 cases of poor care. And I mean, just to pull out one of the interesting places here, in one case, the NHS has spent more than £4 million on legal action against a single whistleblower.
Oh, Lewis, your mic's failed.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Lewis.
Usually I'm loud enough that I can carry.
I know. So we've got to shut you down.
Not enough.
Oh, no. I can carry him on if you want me to.
No. Well, I'll tell you what. Because this is, as she was on about going out for fancy lunches yesterday.
That's actually the furthest thing from fancy.
What's this about ticket touts selling restaurant?
Yeah, so
restaurant
what's happened is a new market's being created where essentially a lot of restaurants, for you to even get a booking, you have to wait 2 to 3 months. So instead of waiting, what people are doing, a bit like, you know, when people buy up all the tickets to a concert and then you have to buy it from somebody else, like a ticket tout, for triple the price. This is what's essentially happening with bookings. So what you would do is, if you're desperate to go to a fancy restaurant, let's say, for example, in Mayfair, you would go to one of these websites where somebody has already booked it and you'd have to pay for it via the third party to get the booking.
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And some people are saying it should actually be made illegal because restaurants are saying we do the contract between us and our customer, not this third party.
Yeah. No, I'd make it illegal because it's just going to fancy restaurants.
Inflate.
Well, yeah, these people are just going to book tickets they have no intention of ever using.
But is this not devil's advocate, essentially the free market? If you really want it, you're going to pay for it?
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, yeah, in its purest form. But I mean, it's
But it's out of control, isn't it?
It is wrong.
You see it with concerts all the time, don't you? And people paying thousands of pounds for tickets on these third-party websites.
Oh, I hate it.
You can't imagine doing it for dinner.
It's the reason I can't get a new driving test as well, because every time I try and get a new driving test, the bots have all taken it and they're selling it for hundreds of pounds more.
Really?
It's on. Yeah.
Driving test.
Driving test. You can try and get a driving
hard
test.
to get a driving test?
I have been trying to get a driving test for the last 7 weeks, and they're supposed to all be released at 6 a.m. on a Monday. So there I am at sort of 10 to 6 every Monday, logging on. They're like, no, there's nothing here. There's nothing here.
Oh, that's crazy.
Awful.
The DVLA shouldn't allow that.
And apparently it's because of bots buying them.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Cover my back there.
All right, well, how long have we... Oh, we've only got 40 seconds left. What can you tell us about dangerous... Oh, no, teenage train drivers, Lewis, in 30 seconds.
Teenage train drivers. So this is great as young people struggle to find industry. So they're going to drop the recruitment age from 20 to 18 to allow a lot more young train drivers. And it's because more than 5,000 drivers are forecasted to retire in the next 5 years. So if you thought trains were bad now, they're going to be terrible in the next 5 years.
dear.
So training up the young,
if you're 18,
makes a lot of
get
sense.
on it.
Might be the way to go. And
There
hopefully
you
you
go.
don't strike.
No,
That'd
and
be
there's,
good, wouldn't
it's a quite a well-paid job. So there you go. Lynn, Lewis, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Very much indeed.
Time for the weather. It's Aidan.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. We start the day with a lot of cloud, some showery rain as well, but gradually through the day there'll be a better chance of some warm sunshine developing, and likewise over the next few days, a greater chance of warm sunshine, less of a chance of showers, but certainly across parts of eastern England, into the North Midlands, northern England, southern Scotland, there's this zone of cloud and outbreaks of on and off rain. Either side of that, as temperatures rise into the afternoon, some heavy downpours will break out, but in the far south, as well as the far north and northeast, decent spells of sunshine by the afternoon. Cool in the northeast, 15 or 16 Celsius with some low cloud hugging the beaches. Warmer where we've got some sunny spells in the northwest and towards the south. In fact, southern England, as we end the afternoon and go into the evening, looking at some lovely sunshine, and you can see the marked contrast there across Devon and Cornwall, sharp showers developing to the north, and this zone of cloud and outbreaks of rain through the Midlands as well as Wales continuing. Northern Ireland, heavy showers or thunderstorms, and likewise for western Scotland. But for central, northern and eastern Scotland, that's where we'll see some clear blue skies and inland out of the breeze. It's going to feel very pleasant in that sunshine. Now, the cloudy zone with those outbreaks of rain across Wales and the Midlands, that will continue through the night, but the rain will tend to ease. It will turn more showery. Many places will see a dry night, albeit with a lot of cloud remaining across a central slice of the UK. The best of any clear spells will be down towards the south and southeast, as well as across central and northern Scotland. Some mist patches first thing, certainly some low cloud along the North Sea coast, but otherwise, as the day progresses, we're going to see the cloud bubble up and break. We'll see some sunny spells developing, but once again, some heavy showers will form, especially through Wales, the Midlands, East Anglia, northwest England and western Scotland. Away from the showers in the sunshine, feeling very pleasant with highs of 23 Celsius.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. Delays are possible to some Calmac Firth of Clyde sailings because of a technical problem. Trains have been stopped between Manchester Airport and Manchester Piccadilly because of a points failure. On the M1 in Northamptonshire, 2 out of 4 lanes are closed southbound between junctions 16 and 15A near Northampton after an accident causing queues. On the M4 near Bristol, there's a lane closed eastbound. Someone's broken down between junctions 20 and 19 from the M5 to the M32. It's slow towards there. On the M25 from Kent into Surrey, there's no fuel again today clockwise at the Clackett Lane services between junctions 5 and 6 because of a technical problem. On the M26 in Kent, there are westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks. And in Cornwall, the A39 is closed in both directions southeast of Penryn because of a fire at Ponchardon Boatyard. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Don't miss your chance to win our biggest cash prize so far. A totally terrific £20,000 in tax-free cash to make your summer spectacular. You could use that cash to splash out on a holiday, make the garden glam, buy a new car, or just save it for a rainy day. Whatever you'd spend £20,000 on, make sure you don't miss the chance to make it yours. For another chance to win £20,000 in tax-free cash, text prize to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB05 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 31st of May. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Friday nights on GB News with Dubes & Co from 6, followed by Lee Anderson's Real World at 7. At 8, it's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. And at 9, join Patrick Christie's Tonight, followed by Headliners at 11, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. It's 8 o'clock on Thursday, the 16th of May. Today, Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer is set to reveal a 6-point plan if he comes to power, with the economy, NHS and immigration top of his agenda.
Yes, Sir Keir Starmer in Essex today, unveiling a 6-point plan which he hopes is going to convince you to make him the next Prime Minister. I'll bring you the details shortly.
Europe holds its breath. Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico fights for his life following surgery after being shot in a politically motivated attack.
Hundreds of people in Devon struck down by what they describe as the worst ever illness after a parasite was discovered in the water.
Yes, there's a constant stream of traffic here as people arrive to collect their free bottled water after South West Water says whatever you do, do not drink the water. This after scores, if not hundreds of people have fallen very sick indeed.
A group of RAF cyclists ride to a memorial site in the Netherlands in honour of an aircrew that were killed during the Dam Busters raids back in 1943.
A great sacrifice, also a great cost. On the 81st anniversary of the Dam Buster raids, we're bringing you a live memorial services from the beach here at Castricum-on-Sea.
And in the sport, the fight for the European places in the Premier League's getting very interesting. One game left now. Last night, Manchester United beat Newcastle and Chelsea won their 4th in 4 games away at Brighton. Premier League clubs will vote on whether to keep VAR or possibly dump it. And a member of FIFA's ruling council had to join a meeting via video link because he... Well, why do you think? Because he was...
Suffering from piles.
No.
Because he had
That's
COVID.
no reason not to attend a FIFA reason. Because apparently...
He had COVID.
No, didn't have COVID. I'll get even one more. FIFA.
He was
There's
banned.
the clue.
He was banned.
Dog sitting.
Even worse, he wasn't dog sitting. He was...
Refereeing.
He was in jail. He was in jail.
Oh. Well.
Yeah. I'll have the full story a little bit later. It was...
If you've started the day with cloud and outbreaks of rain, some sunnier weather is on the way, either later today or the next few days. I'll have the full details in the forecast coming up soon.
Morning to you, I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is Breakfast on GB News.
Yeah, Paul was very excited by that.
Yeah, it was very good. I can't wait for a bit more context. I love how your first thought was piles.
Well, piles of cash, clearly.
Piles of cash.
Clearly. That's what I was thinking of.
Oh, I thought it was dog sitting.
No, is that funny? So he's in prison. Well, it's all right. Donald Trump may be running the United States of America from prison at some point.
Well, technically he could.
Could. Set up the Oval Office in a prison cell. I don't know, but then he could pardon himself, couldn't he, if that happens?
Yes, which is what would happen,
yeah.
wouldn't it? Lots of you getting in touch on fur. We had a debate about it earlier. It's after the Queen Camilla, said she's not going to buy any new real fur. So we're asking today, should it be banned entirely? Vanessa Frake Harris, good morning to you, says absolutely no need for fur wearing in this day and age. It's a vile practice to wear a dead animal for beauty. The fur belongs to the animal.
Yeah, well, but there's someone else, I can't find it now, says, what does that mean? We're going to start banning leather. Jane Britton says, I thought fur was banned, no need for it. So, yeah, I don't know.
Jimmy Z says, either we use a non-sustainable product, aka plastic, and add to the destruction of the planet, or we use a biodegradable product like rabbit fur, deer skin, leather. It's a ludicrous idea to appease the vegan crowd.
It's not just...
But, he says, discourage the use of farmed furs, which I'm sure lots of people would agree
Yeah,
on.
but it's all
Which has been banned in this
isn't it?
country.
Because you need it on an industrial scale, that's the problem. But as Neil Parish was talking about, I mean, one of the issues comparatively recently was people buying things from, you know, the cheap stuff, and obviously you've got that sort of furry stuff inside.
Like synthetic.
But actually, it was turning out to be, when they tested it, rabbit.
Oh.
Some of it was cat. It was all coming in from China. So you never quite know what you're getting anyway.
Well, you don't. That's true.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be walking about with some, I don't know, pair of gloves or whatever that had cat fur inside.
No. But lots of people making the point, what they're going to try and do now? Are they going to try and ban leather products? There's no difference between fur or leather products, says Jim Brown. And Alan Martin makes the same point. What about leather?
Well, I don't know. I don't know enough about it. But I don't know why we need to have fur particularly. But
no, you wouldn't wear fur, would you?
I wouldn't wear fur. I don't like the idea of it.
You're vegetarian as well, so that makes sense.
Yeah, but I'm not vegetarian because I don't agree with eating animals. I don't object to eating animals.
Do you not?
No. I just don't want to do it myself.
Oh, right.
No, I'm not a person of conscience on eating animals. I'm from a farming background, so I don't object to it. I just don't want to do it. I don't know why, I just don't. Helen's been in touch from Portugal. Says, we can't vote for Trick Awards from Portugal. We desperately want to vote. Stephen, you are the tech man. Is there another way? Yeah, you need a VPN.
Oh, is that what it is?
Virtual private network. So if you Google VPN, so basically you can appear to be in any country you like with the VPN. It's a good way of...
good luck with that one.
Either hiding your... if you want to keep things more secure, that's why people do it, because it's technically more secure, but also it's things like if you're abroad and you want to watch video players like iPlayer and things, but they won't let you access it from outside the UK, then you can put your IP address in the UK. So it thinks you're in the UK when you're not.
Very technical.
Virtual private network, VPNs.
Right,
Google
Helen,
it.
look it up, and we appreciate the effort for the Trick Award nomination.
They're not
Thank
free,
you.
they do cost money, though. So,
yes.
Just saying. But it's a good option.
But that is a good reminder, isn't it? gbnews.com. If you go to our website, you can see the Trick Award nominations. We're up for Best News Programme and Best News Presenter. If you could vote for us and you'd like to vote for us,
And
we'd
also
be very grateful.
Best interview as well.
Oh, and Best Interview,
which
yes.
is Camilla Tominey talking to...
Alistair
Stewart about his dementia diagnosis. Actually, I'd like to really see that one.
I'd really like to see that win as well. What a legend.
And then we've got Nigel and Eamon up for Best News Presenter, and we're up for Best News Programme.
Yes. So if you could vote for us, we would like that very much. We'd be very grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. All right, let's talk politics, should we? Because the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, will today unveil 6 election pledges to the country.
Well, they include maintaining economic stability, cutting NHS waiting times, launching a new border command.
Also setting up Great British Energy. cracking down on antisocial behaviour and recruiting 6,500 new teachers.
Well, earlier we spoke to Education Secretary Jillian Keegan.
It's really a very poor, very ill-defined and poorly thought through policy, and it will impact both the special educational needs sector, which we're trying to build more places because we know we've got more demand than we're keeping up with, and it will really impact that sector, as well as independent private schools that parents choose to send their kids to.
All right, that was Jillian Keegan talking about Labour's plans to put VAT on private education. It wasn't quite clear, so that's what she's talking about. But I mean, there's a whole host of issues wrapped up in these 6 pledges. Let's talk to our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, who's in Westminster for us this morning. I mean, it's all how it's phrased, in a way. Are these the top priorities that people are really going to care about come the next election, Catherine?
Well, these are the issues that Labour feels it can sell on the doorstep. So, yes, there will be other priorities too that didn't make it into these 6 pledges. But Sir Keir Starmer has had these 5 national missions for months now, but they haven't really cut through to people. They've been a bit woolly. So they've basically sort of tightened and reframed them, distilled them, if you like, into these 6 pledges. Now, it was 5, but they've added one, this new border command, this plan that Labour unveiled last Friday to crack down on the Channel crossings. But otherwise, we've got economic stability. They don't want voters to be worried about voting Labour. They want to say, look, we're going to be very careful with the economy. I have to say, whoever's in power after the next election, there is not much money floating around. Cutting NHS waiting times, of course, that's one of Rishi Sunak's too. Not having much luck at that at the moment, is he? More teachers, this Great British Energy, a nationalised energy company, because, of course, we've found our energy security wanting following the Russia invasion of Ukraine. So, Sir Keir Starmer will be in Essex today, where Labour don't have a single seat. He will be making a speech later this morning, along with Rachel Reeves and Angela Rayner. He'll be giving a sit-down interview to our political editor, Chris Hope, which we'll be able to see later on today. And they've got a pledge card which will be popping up on billboards. So if you live in a target seat like Doncaster or Swindon or Stoke, you're going to probably see these in the coming weeks. My first steps for change, with a picture of Keir Starmer, no jacket, sleeves rolled up, looking ready for business. Labour hopes that this is going to begin to convince people that they are the right choice after the next election. Of course, they're 20 points ahead in the polls, but there's been a lot of criticism that, a lot of people don't really know what Labour stand for. They're beginning to flesh it out. Still, a lot of unanswered questions, though.
OK, Catherine Forster, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much indeed.
The animal rights group PETA has revealed that the Queen has pledged to buy no more fur products.
But the International Fur Federation said that royals shouldn't be put under pressure from animal activists.
Well, the Queen, following in the footsteps of the late Queen, she switched to faux fur back in 2019, apparently.
Well, we're now joined by royal historian and columnist Martin Whittock. Very good to see you this morning, Martin. What do you make of this?
Well, in many ways, this is consistent with the very strong environmental principles associated with the king. So, for example, the oil used for anointing the king at his coronation was animal-free for the first time ever. The coronation roll, that's the handwritten record of the coronation, recently presented to the king and queen, was produced on paper, not on parchment. That would have been from animal skin. The palace has not served foie gras, made from duck or goose liver since 2008, a move strongly supported by Charles when he was then Prince of Wales. And as you've alluded to, the late Queen Elizabeth II set a precedent when she switched to faux fur for her new outfits from 2019. So there is a background here going back some years of the palace moving in this direction, and it certainly does seem to be in line with both the principles and, if you like, the mood music of of the king, and with, in the past, there were duchy products, for example, and the kind of environmental concerns that he has become closely associated with. So in many ways, it's not really surprising, although the letter written to Peter declaring the Queen will not procure any new fur garments, and this comes with the Queen's warmest wishes, certainly seems to suggest a significant movement, acceleration of the process.
It's interesting, though, that the International Fur Federation is saying it's not right. They don't criticise the Queen, but they do say it's not right for the royal family to be pressured by these activist groups. To be fair, it doesn't appear as though any pressure has been levied.
I think not in this particular case, because I think in many ways the palace is moving in step with a lot of public opinion. In 2020, there was a YouGov poll that suggested that 93% of the British population reject wearing real fur, 72% support a complete ban on the sale of fur in the UK, and in addition, 83% had never worn fur, another 10% have worn fur in the past, but no longer do so, and only 3% currently wear real animal fur. So although there has been some pressure on the palace, I mean, for example, in 2017, Camilla switched to fake fur hats after receiving criticism for wearing a Russian-style real fur hat for the Sandringham Christmas Day services. So there has been pressure. But on the other hand, I think this is very much coming from the values of the palace and from the king and queen. So it's not to say there hasn't been arguments, for them to do this, but I think in some ways it's been pushing at an open door, because I think the palace and certainly the king and queen are this way inclined, and the king has been for many, many years.
Martin Whittock, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, let us know what you think about that. I have to say, the majority of you getting in touch on gbnews.com/yoursay this morning have agreed with what the Queen is doing and saying there's no need to wear fur. Some of you disagree. Some of you say, well, it's no worse than leather. Or, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs about how these different things are produced. I do wonder if there's any need for it in this day and age. Raises the question about bearskins, though, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Does it open the door to,
maybe
to that conversation?
Maybe bearskins need to go.
Maybe that will be the next thing. Well, do let us know what you think. gbnews.com/yoursay.
Now, there's a real problem for people living in the southwest of England, supplied by South West Water. There's something wrong with the tap water. It's been going on for a few days, and it is making people really ill.
Yes, those people are being urged to boil their water to kill off a parasite which has left hundreds of people with diarrhoea, vomiting and stomach pains.
Let's get up to date with Jeff Moody, who's in one of the towns affected, for us this morning. Jeff, what's the latest?
Good morning. Well, I'm here at one of the car parks just outside Brixham in South Devon, where there's been a constant stream of cars arriving throughout the morning to receive their bottled water. If you have a look, the cars have been arriving nose to tail, really, and they're collecting around 4 bottles each. This first started around 12 days ago when one person complained, and then within a few days of that, loads and loads and loads, scores of people became very sick indeed. The symptoms are extreme diarrhoea, followed by very, very severe stomach cramps. Some people saying that it's comparable to childbirth. That's how severe it is. Well, initially, South West Water said, look, it's nothing to do with us, it's nothing to do with the water, carry on drinking the water as usual. But then yesterday at around 1 p.m, South West Water did a huge U-turn and they said, no, we have found a parasite called Cryptosporidium. We found that in the water. Please do not, under any circumstances, drink the water from the taps unless it has been boiled. Don't clean your teeth with it either. Don't wash with it too. Very clear instructions, but there's a lot of anger amongst the locals here in Brixham that it took them so long to diagnose this. It took them so long to acknowledge that it was their problem. South West Water has offered people £15 compensation, but people are saying, look, we've spent more than that on bottled water and on toilet rolls, so So we really don't see that that's particularly valuable. People are, as I say, very concerned about it and very angry. Now, so far, there's been 70 confirmed cases. Now, there's only 16,000 people that live in Brixham. It does affect some sort of the villages and towns around nearby, but Brixham is the main source of this. Only 16,000 people here. Some people have been saying that there is an illness in virtually every family in the town. Nearly every family is suffering, and it's spread right across the age gap too. Children are affected just as much as the elderly. People are saying, well, you know, how can this disease be so strong that even little children are suffering, and even they are bedridden with this extreme diarrhea and these terrible stomach cramps. So a lot of bad feeling here, a lot of anger towards South West Water. They're bringing in other water companies. A van from Bournemouth Water has just arrived to try and help out, to dish out all of this water. And we wait and see what the verdict is. We wait and see how quickly it is before they can get this under control. But in the meantime, people are very sick indeed.
OK, Jeff, thanks very much indeed. It's grim.
You can't imagine, can you? I mean, as Jeff says, families are affected. Children, the elderly.
Yeah,
Everybody is affected by this.
How you deal with the elderly and children in all of that. And even washing, it's safe to wash with, apparently. Would you want to risk it?
Especially with children.
I wouldn't want a bath in that, or a shower in that, because it gets in your mouth, in your eyes. Could that affect you? I don't know. It just puts you right off, doesn't it?
Well, it does. And you can imagine the sense of anger amongst those people as well. You can see behind Jeff there, driving and queuing up for water that you can drink and brush your teeth with. Shouldn't be happening in 2024, should it?
No, I mean, wonder what's gone wrong and why it's taken so long to detect it. It just goes to show how much we do trust water companies, though. We just take it for granted, don't we, that the water that comes out of our taps is safe.
Well, it shouldn't be a big ask, should it?
You wouldn't
to have safe drinking water, should it? Anyway, let us know what you think about that story. And if you've been affected, please do get in touch with us this morning, gbnews.com/yoursay. But for now, let's have a look at the weather with Aidan McGibbon.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. We start the day with a lot of cloud, some showery rain as well, but gradually through the day there'll be a better chance of some warm sunshine developing, and likewise over the next few days, a greater chance of warm sunshine, less of a chance of showers, but certainly across parts of eastern England, into the North Midlands, northern England, southern Scotland, there's this zone of cloud and outbreaks of on and off rain. Either side of that, as temperatures rise into the afternoon, some heavy downpours will break out, but in the far south, as well as the far north and northeast, decent spells of sunshine by the afternoon. Cool in the northeast, 15 or 16 Celsius with some low cloud hugging the beaches. Warmer where we've got some sunny spells in the northwest and towards the south. In fact, southern England, as we end the afternoon and go into the evening, looking at some lovely sunshine, and you can see the marked contrast there across Devon and Cornwall, sharp showers developing to the north, and this zone of cloud and outbreaks of rain through the Midlands as well as Wales continuing. Northern Ireland, heavy showers or thunderstorms, and likewise for western Scotland. But for central, northern and eastern Scotland, that's where we'll see some clear blue skies and inland out of the breeze. It's going to feel very pleasant in that sunshine. Now, the cloudy zone with those outbreaks of rain across Wales and the Midlands, that will continue through the night, but the rain will tend to ease. It will turn more showery. Many places will see a dry night, albeit with a lot of cloud remaining across the central slice of the UK. The best of any clear spells will be down towards the south and southeast, as well as across central and northern Scotland. Some mist patches first thing, certainly some low cloud along the North Sea coast, but otherwise, as the day progresses, we're going to see the cloud bubble up and break. We'll see some sunny spells developing, but once again, some heavy showers will form, especially through Wales, the Midlands, East Anglia, northwest England and western Scotland. Away from the showers in the sunshine, feeling very pleasant with highs of 23 Celsius.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, some good news for you this morning. There's still plenty of time to win our biggest cash prize so far in the Great British Giveaway. It's a whopping £20,000. Imagine having that in your bank account this summer. But you've got to be in the draw for a chance to win it. And here's how.
Don't miss your chance to win our biggest cash prize so far. A totally terrific £20,000 in tax-free cash to make your summer spectacular. You could use that cash to splash out on a holiday, make the garden glam, buy a new car, or just save it for a rainy day. Whatever you'd spend £20,000 on, make sure you don't miss the chance to make it yours. For another chance to win £20,000 in tax-free cash, text WIN to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB05 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 31st of May. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, best of luck to you. Still to come for you, we're going to be marking the 81st anniversary of the Dam Busters raid.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Well, we're delighted about this because the boss of JD Wetherspoon has credited demand for fashionable Guinness as the pub chain reported a jump in sales.
Now, Guinness has benefited from a boom in demand over recent years, shaking off its association with rugby lads and old men to appeal to a much younger audience and loads more women.
We've got our Guinness here.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers to you.
Cheers.
I'm not sure about this boozing on air at this time of the morning, but I'll let you off on this occasion.
As it's you, Tim, as it's you. Now, Guinness is an acquired taste for many people, so I'm surprised it's become so popular.
Yes, it is a real surprise. I think it's always been a popular drink among the demographic you mentioned, the older guy. There's about 80 or 90% of pub trade over the last 30 or 40 years, and probably longer, are a similar range of products. But there's a varying 10, 20% according to fashion. You had vodka Red Bull 20 years ago. You had an Irish cider poured over ice, which came from no one knows where. You had Alco Pops. So there's an unpredictable range of products which have been the fashion of the moment. But the fashion of the moment, very unpredictably this time, is Guinness. And no one knows why. As you say, it's an acquired taste. Young people tend not to like it. Most of the fashionable drinks over the decades have been quite sweet. And Guinness obviously isn't. So, yes, I think the Guinness brewery, St James's Gate in Dublin, they'll say it's brilliant marketing. But like the rest of us, they rely a bit on luck.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
2024, a battleground year.
The year the nation decides.
As the parties gear up their campaigns for the next general election.
Who will be left standing when the British people make one of the biggest decisions of their lives?
Who will rise?
And who will fall?
Let's find out together.
For every moment, the highs, the lows, the twists and turns.
We'll be with you for every step of this journey.
In 2024, GB News is Britain's election channel.
Right, loads of you getting in touch this morning. Ginny says, of course, fur clothes should be banned. This after Her Majesty the Queen says she's not going to buy any more fur. Unless it's a byproduct of meat in specific circumstances. As you said, real fur from cats, rabbits and raccoon dogs is now cheaper in China than faux fur and finds its way into bobble hats and gloves. People are buying it unwittingly. A ban is needed. Leather is different, she says. It's a byproduct of the meat industry. So there you go.
Well, do keep your views coming in on fur, gbnews.com/you'll say. We've also been talking about the Dam Busters this morning because it is the 81st anniversary of the Dam Busters raid. Linda Smith has been in touch. I was talking about the blue plaques on houses.
Oh, yes.
And I went for a walk around here, actually, last week, and one of the pilots of the Dam Buster raids lived in a house very close to here, and there's a blue plaque there that commemorates him, rightly so. Linda's been in touch saying Eric Coates, the composer of the Dam Buster music, lived in Hucknall in Nottingham, and there is one of those blue plaques on the house where he lived as well. So it's lovely, isn't it, that those men are being commended.
Yeah, these
I
things...
remembered in that way because then you walk past, you see that blue sign and you talk about them.
Yeah, which is what it should be about. Anyway, it's all being commemorated because a team of RAF cyclists have been riding 300 miles from their base at RAF Digby in Lincolnshire to a war memorial in the Netherlands, marking the place that one of the Dam Buster crews, Dinghy Young, where they perished just moments from safety.
Well, let's speak to our reporter, Will Hollis, who's in the Netherlands for us now. Very good morning to you, Will. It is so important, isn't it, to remember these brave men, to remember them and to honour them.
Yes, well, in the Dam Busters raid, 53 men gave their lives. 7 of them were from Dinghy Young's crew. Their bodies washed ashore here at Castricum-on-Zee after they successfully breached the Myrna Dam, but they were shot down just moments away from safety. And it's that crew in particular, that the RAF cyclists from RAF Digby are remembering. They've ridden 300 miles all the way to the beach here from Lincoln, and 2 of the people that did that ride were Lila and Maggie. Lila, why did you want to get involved in this gruelling task for the RAF?
I wanted to challenge myself. I've never cycled before and I knew it would be an amazing experience, and it definitely felt very rewarding arriving here yesterday.
Yeah, how was it? Gruelling. A real challenge for somebody that's never really cycled before, 300 miles.
Yeah, definitely very challenging, hard work, but doing it all together as a team, it was an incredible experience.
Maggie, what about you? How was this challenge for you?
As you said, it was definitely a journey for Lila and I because we've never cycled before. We had to overcome quite a lot of challenges. My bike broke on the last day, but we really enjoyed ourselves and we're really honoured to be here.
The youngest person from Dinghy Young's crew was just 20 years old. That's a similar age to you two. Why are you honouring these men in this way, 81 years away from their sacrifice?
Yeah, so I'm the same age as Sergeant Gordon Yeo, and it feels an honour to be here representing them. The last 4 days have been really challenging, but it's nothing on what they sacrificed.
There's a large team that's been led by Wing Commander Neil Hallett, the station commander of RAF Digby in Lincolnshire. Why are we doing this 81 years on from the Dam Buster raids?
So the heritage of 617 Squadron is probably the most iconic squadrons in our, and the raid themselves was historic. So having that opportunity to take part in this story, when we see the Lancaster fly back in the UK skies, you know, that is a significant moment. Every member of this crew now will have had that personal connection, and being able to take part in this, meet some of the crew's relatives as well. What a proud, humbling experience it's going to be.
There's a memorial service planned for later. There's going to be local dignitaries as well as from the International Bomber Command Centre, which is part of the ride, representing the 58,000 or so men of Bomber Command who gave their lives during the Second World War. Just describe that sheer sacrifice from across the veterans and armed forces that gave their lives, but particularly this 7 that we're remembering today.
Yeah, when they were selected, not knowing what they were being selected for, to then go through some really intense training to fly at 60 feet, being shot at in the middle of the night, to take on some new technology, new for them, never been done or seen before, and to achieve what they achieved. I mean, how remarkable is that? Unfortunately, they thought they were home free, Stingy and his crew, And then literally just to the south of here, the last gun battery opens up and they reported seeing the aircraft go down in the early hours of the morning of the 17th. And this is where they came. So shortly after this, we'll be going to the cemetery where the graves are to pay our personal respects to them. And I say it's really important that we keep this story alive. As time marches on and the veterans sadly are no longer with us, I think it's really important for us as aviators and for those that come after us to keep talking about them and keep remembering exactly what they did for our country.
It was the ultimate sacrifice. The scale of what they did is incomparable for cycling 300 miles, but it is such a gruelling challenge. How do you think you and the rest of the team will feel, but also doing it for such an emotional reason when you're at the memorial later remembering those 7 people from Dinghy's crew? Yeah,
I mean, when this first became an idea, and I literally asked for volunteers, I didn't know if I was going to get anyone or if it'd just be myself. But I was really proud to see so many people come forward, and most of them are novices. And so every one of us has been on that special individual journey. And I think when we get to meet the families, when we get to see the graves, I think that's going to be a very special time, probably quite emotional, I would imagine. But, you know, that's what the men and women of the Royal Air Force are all about. They look for challenges. They really enjoy a challenge. It's kind of what makes us unique. And whether we're at home, abroad on operations, this is just the kind of men and women that we attract to serve, and I'm incredibly proud to stand alongside them.
A very special memory and a very special moment marking a key part of British history. Thank you so much, Wing Commander Neil Hallett, as well as Lila and Maggie. Another special part of the service today is going to be a flyover from the Dutch Air Force.
Okay, Will, thank you very much indeed. And it is good to, particularly, I think, to see those 2 young people.
Yeah.
And because it's you've got to appreciate actually that everyone in the armed forces, as much as you commemorate those who've lost their lives, we're asking them to potentially do the same thing. We're asking them to potentially sacrifice everything for us, and it's got to be remembered.
And as you were saying, those in the armed forces, they have so much respect, don't they, for those who, well, who paid the ultimate sacrifice, and to those who went ahead of them. And it's so lovely to see that next generation paying tribute and remembering, because it is so important to remember. Loads of you getting in touch on that this morning, so do keep those thoughts coming in.
OK, Paul Coyte's going to be here with all your sport in just a moment.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M90 in Perth and Kinross, the inside lanes closed southbound after a lorry caught fire between junctions 11 and 10 from Perth to Craigend. Delays are possible as some Calmac Firth of Clyde sailings because of a technical problem. Buses replaced trains between Manchester Airport and both Manchester Piccadilly and Wilmslow because of a points failure. In Oxfordshire on the A34, there's a lane closed northbound where someone's broken down between the Milton interchange and the Marcham interchange near Abingdon, causing delays towards Oxford. On the M25 from Essex into Hertfordshire, there are long anti-clockwise delays from junction 27 for the M11 past 25 for the A10 because of roadworks. On the M25 in Surrey, there's no fuel again today clockwise at the Clackett Lane services because of a technical problem. And on the M26 in Kent, there are westbound queues towards the M25 because of roadworks. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Friday nights on GB News with Dubes & Co from 6, followed by Lee Anderson's Real World at 7. At 8, it's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. And at 9, join Patrick Christie's Tonight, followed by Headliners at 11, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Nigel Farage, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News is the home of free speech. We were created to champion it, and we deliver it day in, day out.
Free speech allows us all to explore and debate openly the issues most important to us, our families, and of course, the British people.
Having challenging conversations to enlighten each other.
Which is why we hear all sides of the argument.
We are the People's Channel.
We will always stand by the freedom to express yourself.
On TV, radio and online.
This is GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, every Sunday at 9:30 when I'll be interviewing the key players in British politics and taking them to task.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial.
With an upcoming election looming over Westminster, now is the time for clear, honest answers.
I agree.
And that's precisely what I'll get.
Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's election channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Arlene Foster on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, you may have noticed we had a very special interview earlier, didn't we, with the first deaf member of
the Knesset.
And Tony Ramskill's been in touch just saying, I just wanted to say how much I really enjoyed that interview with the Israeli ambassador this morning. I don't believe I've ever seen an interview with a deaf person where the person is signing and the interpreter is out of sight. It would have been very easy for Ellie and Stephen to look at her and not the ambassador. Not only was it a very important issue, but yes, I also think she made the point that people have been very quick to forget the atrocities of October the 7th. Thank you, says Tony.
No, well, it was... Do you know what? I think it's important significant that she was the first deaf member of the Knesset, and obviously that poses its own challenges. But I think when you've got someone like that coming in, the fact that they happen to be deaf or in a wheelchair or whatever whatever it might be, you just ignore it.
No.
You just ignore it. It's her views are important. It's important to do an interview like you would with anybody else. The fact that we have to use an interpreter is sort of beside the point, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And just to keep... And she was very, very nice, the interpreter.
They were
just
both,
keep
and they
that
worked
shot.
so well as a team, yeah. It was very good to hear her opinion, so I'm glad you appreciated it as well, Tony.
Right, we have sport.
Now to someone whose views are unimportant. Is that what you're going to go to? I knew you were going to say that.
Equally important.
Manchester United 3, Newcastle
2.
2, very good. Never know what you're going to get with Manchester United. Same as Newcastle as well, to be honest with you. Newcastle, you know, when they got bought, didn't they? And it was the Saudi fund bought them, and it looked like they're going to be the richest football team in the world. The fans are thinking, this is it, we're going to be Champions League. So they made it to the Champions League last year. This year, not so. So, you know, it's with profit and sustainability rules, it all makes a difference without making it all boring. But you can't just... You may have a load of money to spend, but in football you can't just spend it willy-nilly.
No, money can't buy your love, Paul.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
There's a song in there.
Yeah. Actually, no, I think money can, actually. Actually think it can. So there's an upturn again for Manchester United. Never know where they stand, and we don't know what Eric Ten Hag's going to do. Well, it's not his choice. It's not his choice. We think he's going to go?
He's going to have to.
You think so? End of the season?
Yeah.
He gave a little speech on the pitch as well, because afterwards, at the end of always every home game, or always at the last home game, I should say, of the season, you get the team will walk round. Every team does that, and then he says a few words. So everybody's looking, is he going to say goodbye? Does he mean anything by that? He wants to stay, but is he going to? We just don't know.
No.
We will have to see. Although they did cancel their end-of-season dinner.
That they did,
Harry,
yes.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I think you told us that.
Oh, did I? How did you know that? Who told you? You did. Oh, yes. Yeah, the end-of-season dinner, but it doesn't sit because the women won the FA Cup final, the Women's FA Cup final, and they beat Spurs on Sunday, so it should be celebrating, but they're thinking, maybe the way the season's gone for us, and especially with the leaky roof, maybe we'll save
the pennies.
Save it till next year. Yeah.
Chelsea, they beat Brighton.
They did. There's another team that's doing very well. Chelsea, they've won 4 in 4. Mauricio Pochettino, my old friend Maurizio, he's going to be fine, I think. I think
there were questions over him, wasn't there, not long ago?
You know what? Quite a few years ago, and I'm not going to drop a name, actually I am, Kyle Walker. I was talking to Kyle Walker when Kyle Walker was playing for Spurs, and Kyle Walker said, and it wasn't working out when Mauricio Pochettino came in, and he said, you know what, we just can't quite get what he means, what he wants us to do. but then all of a sudden it clicks. And that seems to have been the case at Chelsea. And I think it just takes a while for everybody to buy into what he does. And the thing is, these days, you can't really give anybody time in football. But if they give him time, I think Chelsea will be absolutely fine.
Should we talk FIFA? And a big FIFA meeting where someone just had to dial in on Zoom.
Yeah, this is interesting. Well, I did mention there's corruption problems, as we know, over the years with FIFA.
One or two, only one or two.
Well, 10, 12, 100, 120. Yeah. FIFA permitted a ruling council member to join. Look, there's the FIFA flag. We don't have a picture of him or where he was, but there's the FIFA flag via video link, as he couldn't make it in person. His name is Mamadou Touré. He is the Mali member, and he couldn't join the meeting because he was in jail. What does that say?
Allegedly, because he's awaiting trial.
He is awaiting trial. He is awaiting trial for corruption. So the thing is...
Embezzling public funds.
They thought he was in a clinic. I don't know how many clinics have...
Bars,
height thing. Bars. Yes, you're in a clinic. Why are you wearing that orange jumpsuit? It's like, oh no, that's what they wear here. So anyway, it's not a good look for FIFA, is it, when someone is actually behind bars and he's part of the ruling council? Not so good. So I think they're denying the fact that they knew where he was.
Honestly, right, we're out of time.
We're out of time.
Yes.
I wanted to ask
I've
about
only
the
just got going, quite frankly. We'll do the boxing tomorrow because we'll have a good boxing guest for you tomorrow.
And Fury was on crutches, so I've got questions. We can talk about it tomorrow.
Who's on crutches?
Fury.
Is he?
I think it was all a publicity stunt.
Oh, I should think so.
But that's my theory. But
I should think so.
We'll discuss tomorrow.
I think he'll be fine for the fight on Saturday.
Let's hope so.
We'll talk about
it.
Think of the money. Think of the money. All right, Paul, thanks very much indeed. We've got the papers heading away in just a minute.
We're GB News, and we come from a proud tradition of British journalism.
That's why I'm so excited to be here. It's something so new.
The first news channel to be launched in Britain in over 30 years.
Launched to represent the views of the British people.
To go where other broadcasters refuse to go.
How did you find out about the story in the first place?
Launched with one aim.
To be the fearless champion of Britain.
It's an absolutely fantastic atmosphere here.
This is GB News.
The People's Channel. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
2,000 football banning orders have been issued to England fans ahead of this summer's Euro 2024 tournament in Germany. But authorities think that more than 300,000 England supporters could go to Germany, with Scotland fans, of course, also expected to travel in huge numbers. Well, I'm joined now by GB News' home and security editor, Mark White. Mark, welcome to the show. So you went to a press briefing this morning. As I understand, the authorities are gearing up to tackle what they see as a huge wave of potential hooliganism at the tournament. What's the latest?
Well, they're certainly not saying they're expecting hooliganism, and they are preparing for the worst, of course, if it happens, but hoping for the best. They say that in recent tournaments, England fans and, of course, Scotland fans have been pretty well behaved, but there will be very significant numbers attending that tournament, which gets underway in just over 5 weeks' time. That first match is Scotland taking on Germany in Munich, and of course just 2 days later it's England against Serbia near Dortmund. So 300,000 England fans alone they're expecting, because it's so accessible. I spoke earlier to Chief Constable Mark Roberts, who is the national lead for football policing. This is what he told me.
Positive, you know, England fans got a great record at recent tournaments. We know when any number of that people travel, there's always potential for issues, but I think the German authorities are really well prepared. And I think one of the positives, particularly thinking about our fans, Germany's a beer drinking culture, so the police are well aware of dealing with people in the nighttime economy. They deal with plenty of big festivals, so I think we're going to a place that is well suited to work with us to keep everyone safe and make sure there's no issues.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Simon Evans, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Going through the papers now, podcaster Lewis Oakley and political commentator Lynn May. Very good to see you both this morning. I'm going to mix things up a bit this morning, Lewis. We're going to start from the bottom of our list here. Because it's caught my eye. The headline is Drive Like a Woman. Now, me and my other half, he does all the driving, but I'm definitely the safer driver because I drive very, very slow.
Hold on, you've always told me you're a terrible driver.
No, but I think I'm safer. I'm terrible, but safer.
Safer?
I definitely think so.
How are you terrible? Why do you think you're terrible?
Because I'm nervous.
How long have you been driving?
10 years.
Still?
11 years. Yeah, people say, Ellie, when did you pass your test? And I was like, 11 years ago.
But isn't going too slow, like,
also dangerous?
I've
never had a crash.
Yeah.
Hesitancy, they call it.
Yeah, well, maybe. But anyway, so we're being told to drive like women because we're safer.
Yeah,
which I already knew.
Especially in France, where 84% of fatal road accidents are the fault of men.
Oh.
So that would be why.
Confidence, I think.
Well, yeah, apparently they're slightly more aggressive.
Or is that the fact there are more male drivers? Perhaps, I don't know.
I don't know the demographic of the French drivers, but yeah, I mean it's the same in this country though. I think, especially trying to get insured as a young male driver.
Yeah, you hardly get female
if you're lucky enough to get a driving lesson.
I don't know.
Not as many.
Are you a good driver?
I think I'm a good driver.
And what makes you good?
Confident.
Oh, so it is confident.
Yeah, and I'm quite good at the manoeuvres.
I'm like a textbook driver because I have to be, because I'm trying to pass my test, and it really irritates me when I see all these people that can't drive, that have got their driving licence.
But they can drive.
Like me?
But they can't.
You mean me?
I've seen them. They can't drive. I can.
Are you a good driver?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you are.
I think
you'll be calm.
That sounds really cocky, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I've been driving. How old am I? I've been driving for 33 years. Really? And I do a lot of miles.
He does do a lot of miles.
I do sort of.
Do you drive
60
a manual?
or 70,000 miles a year.
Or an automatic?
Automatic now.
Oh, so it's a lazy.
It's easy. It's much easier. It's much easier.
Poppins driving are done.
Lynn, let's have a look at the stars, should we? Miss Great Britain finalist. I thought they had limits on these sort of things. Is 62.
Don't be mean.
No, it's not mean, but I thought you had to be, between the ages of to be a finalist for these competitions.
Yeah, I thought you had to kind of be... No, I'm going to be even more mean, so I'll shut up. But I actually really like this story because when you think of pageants and beauty queens and people that represent countries for these sort of things, Miss Universe, you have this stereotypical, let's say, I don't know, early to mid-20s. Looks a bit like you, really. Leggy, blonde, or really smart hair, brunette. And this lady, at 62, she's got into the finalist to be the next Miss GB.
Well, good on her.
Good on her. And she wants to do it in the name of her late mother, who died of cancer. And she thought, why not?
Yeah.
So if you're out there and you're thinking of entering a beauty pageant, go for it. Doesn't matter about your age.
Never too old.
Good for her.
No, I'm actually all for beauty pageants.
But are they? This was going to be my question.
Because I've judged a number of them. I've judged Miss Gibraltar twice. I've judged Mr. England and I've judged Miss England.
Wow.
And actually, the contestants are strong, independent, clever. It's not
they do a lot of charity work.
This idea of being, they're just some bimbos. That isn't
Do they
true.
change
that was
going to be... Because I'm so tired of... And what would you like to do? I'd like world peace.
Oh, it's not like that.
No, but I was going to ask you, can you call them beauty pageants anymore? Because it's arguably about more than beauty.
Yeah.
It is about what they stand for, how they fix world hunger.
It could be inner beauty.
Oh, yeah. I remember in one, in the Miss Gibraltar one, the first one I did, one of the contestants, she didn't win, but she came very close. She'd had an operation as a child and she had a big scar down her middle. I don't know quite what op she'd had. But there was a swimwear competition in Gibraltar. You don't have that in England. But it was like showing all that, and it's just like it's not about just being beautiful and it's about being, in that case, a good Gibraltarian. It was great. It was really empowering, actually.
Are you going to be doing any more?
I'm not booked in for any more.
Oh,
no.
OK.
Your side hustle.
That'd be fun.
Your side hustle as a beauty queen judge.
You don't get paid.
What do you think about calendars? Do you think would GB News ever do calendars?
A GB News calendar?
Yeah.
A viewer made one for us, actually.
Really?
Now you say that. Yeah, I didn't feature, unfortunately, but I think you did.
I think I did.
Did you? I think you did.
I'd do it,
And it was all hand drawn. It was very good.
I'm not going to do swimwear, though.
Well, I was going to say, is it a saucy calendar or is it just like a normal calendar?
Basically.
Oh, right, OK.
Yeah, it's very good.
Anyway,
where's she going from here?
That's thrown me off me.
Lewis, what have we got? Dangerous
cyclists? Are we
Let's
going
do cyclists? Yep.
All right. So cyclists who kill to face life sentences like dangerous drivers. Now, if you're like me, you read this and thought, well, if you kill someone, of course you go to jail for that. But there is a slight difference in the law, and basically, you know, cyclists, and there was a big case last week, I believe, where a cyclist was going above what the speed limit for the car would have been and hit someone, and it was kind of seen as like, oh, well, that you cyclists don't have to adhere to the speed limit. So they are addressing that, and I think that this is the right thing to do, to be honest, because some cyclists, are out of control, especially on the streets of London. I mean, the way that they just kind of see red lights and zebra crossings is optional.
Red lights are optional for cyclists.
Yeah, I mean,
it drives me mad.
The other day, we were crossing on a zebra crossing, and I had the two kids in our pram, and the van stopped, and then a cyclist came just shooting out from behind it, and literally missing the kids by about a metre. And you're just thinking, come on. So, I mean, I would go a lot further than this. I think if you see a cyclist that breaks the rules like this, the police should just take the bike.
Really?
Just take the bike.
I think they should be registered. If you can go over 20 miles an hour, why shouldn't you be known to drive a bike? Why not?
And look, cycling is brilliant, but you just have to obey the rules.
Yeah.
Do you think you'd have to pass a driving test? Or
like a cycling test?
Yeah.
Well, cycling proficiency.
Is the thing, isn't it? Do you think everyone should have to pass that?
Because some of them don't know. Sometimes I see them try to signal and they're signalling all over the place.
Or on their phones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I failed my cycling proficiency.
Did you?
Sadly.
What did they fail you on?
Because I stuck my left arm out and went right.
Oh.
That was the only class in the entire school who failed. The only people in the entire school who failed.
This is why we need it. We need it.
I was really,
not
really
roadworthy.
upset.
You could have hurt someone.
Oh, dear.
So there you go. As a result, I'm terrified of cycling.
Well, Lewis Oakley and Lynn May, very good to see you this morning.
Thank you.
Very much indeed.
I had a lovely view in. Let me see if I can find it now. From Mick Boone, who says, my wife is 65 and is the most beautiful woman on the planet.
Oh, lovely.
That is how it should be.
That's love, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Lovely. Should we have a look at the weather?
Let's.
I hope that's lovely too. Aidan's got the...
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. We start the day with a lot of cloud, some showery rain as well, but gradually through the day there'll be a better chance of some warm sunshine developing, and likewise over the next few days, a greater chance of warm sunshine, less of a chance of showers, but certainly across parts of eastern England, into the North Midlands, northern England, southern Scotland, there's this zone of cloud and outbreaks of on and off rain. Either side of that, as temperatures rise into the afternoon, some heavy downpours will break out, but in the far south, as well as the far north and northeast, decent spells of sunshine by the afternoon. Cool in the northeast, 15 or 16 Celsius, with some low cloud hugging the beaches. Warmer where we've got some sunny spells in the northwest and towards the south. In fact, southern England, as we end the afternoon and go into the evening, looking at some lovely sunshine, and you can see the marked contrast there across Devon and Cornwall, sharp showers developing to the north, and this zone of cloud and outbreaks of rain through the Midlands, as well as Wales continuing. Northern Ireland, heavy showers or thunderstorms, and likewise for western Scotland. But for central, northern and eastern Scotland, that's where we'll see some clear blue skies and inland out of the breeze. It's going to feel very pleasant in that sunshine. Now, the cloudy zone with those outbreaks of rain across Wales and the Midlands, that will continue through the night, but the rain will tend to ease. It will turn more showery. Many places will see a dry night, albeit with a lot of cloud remaining across the central slice of the UK. The best of any clear spells will be down towards the south and southeast, as well as across central and northern Scotland. Some mist patches first thing, certainly some low cloud along the North Sea coast, but otherwise, as the day progresses, we're going to see the cloud bubble up and break. We'll see some sunny spells developing, but once again, some heavy showers will form, especially through Wales, the Midlands, East Anglia, northwest England and western Scotland. Away from the showers in the sunshine, feeling very pleasant with highs of 23 Celsius.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M8 in Glasgow, 3 out of 5 lanes are closed westbound where there's an accident in junctions 13 and 14 from the M80 to Fruit Market, causing queues. Delays are possible at some Calmac Firth of Clyde sailings because of a technical problem. Buses replaced trains between Manchester Airport and both Manchester Piccadilly and Wilmslow because of a points failure. On the M25 from Essex into Hertfordshire, there are long anti-clockwise delays from junction 27 for the M11 to just after 25 for the A10 because of road works. On the M25 in Essex, there's a lane closed on the clockwise exit at junction 30 for the A13 where a car's broken down, causing delays. The M2 in Kent's partly blocked westbound by a breakdown between junction 6 and 5 from Faversham to Sittingbourne, and in Hampshire on the A34 there's a lane closed southbound where someone's broken down just before the A303 at Bullington Cross, causing queues. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
You really could be our next big winner with an incredible £20,000 in tax-free cash to play with this summer. What would you spend that on? Well, whilst you're thinking about it, listen to some of our previous winners getting that winning phone call from us.
I'm Charles. I'm on £18,000 cash. It was just amazing, and as soon as it goes into your bank account, it just changed. It's a life-changing thing. Just go for it. It's an absolute must. You must try and go for it.
The next winning call could be answered by you. For another chance to win £20,000 in tax-free cash, text PRIZE to 63232. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB05 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 31st of May. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is the nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News with Dubes & Co from 6, followed by Farage at 7. At 8, Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg addresses the state of the nation. And at 9, join Patrick Christie's Tonight, followed by Headliners at 11. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. It's 9 o'clock on Thursday, the 16th of May. Today, the Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer is set to reveal his 6-point plan that he hopes will bring him to power. The economy, NHS and immigration, top of his agenda.
Yes, Sir Keir Starmer is in Essex today. He'll be making a big speech later. And with these 6 pledges, he's hoping that you will make him the next Prime Minister. I'll bring you the details shortly.
The Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico fights for his life following surgery after being shot in a politically motivated attack.
Hundreds of people in Devon struck down by what they describe as the worst illness ever after a parasite was discovered in the water.
Yes, cars are still arriving to get their free bottled water, but there's much anger amongst residents that South West Water ignored when they were told that there was a problem with the water. More of that in a few minutes.
A group of RAF cyclists ride to a memorial site in the Netherlands in honour of the aircrew that were killed during the Dam Busters raids back in 1943.
a great success, but at a great cost. Today, we're live on the beach at Castricum on Zee in the Netherlands, remembering one fallen aircrew from the dam busters.
If you've started the day with cloud and outbreaks of rain, some sunnier weather is on the way, either later today or the next few days. I'll have the full details in the forecast coming up soon.
Morning to you, I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is Breakfast on GB News.
Loads of you getting in touch on cyclists this morning. It was covered in the papers. It claims that in one of the papers that there are pushes now for cyclists to sort of be forced to adhere to the law a bit more. We've all seen it, haven't we? Cyclists go through red lights and over zebra crossings when people are on them and all that sort of thing. And in some cases, deaths have occurred, which is the key issue with this. But loads of you getting in touch saying, why don't cyclists just have to obey the law, whether it's speed limits, traffic signals, all the rest of it? I just don't know if you can enforce it without number plates or something of that nature.
Well, Rodney Bint's been in touch saying it's way past time now for cyclists to be registered. They need to pay road tax, they need to be insured, and they need to take a proficiency test.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea, is it?
It's not a bad idea. It really isn't, especially with so many on the roads now. What a good way to make a bit of money as well. So we're short on money, aren't we?
For councils as well, yeah.
Insurance would be an issue. But, you know, because that's out of our hands. It's all private companies, isn't it? But, you know, having a sort of road tax or all the rest of it wouldn't have to be a lot. 5 for a year or something like that. But just something, but number plates and all that, I just sort of think, what about a QR code on a bike?
Oh, well, that's very techy, isn't it?
Yeah, but that way it's only small, but it would be you have your own QR code, so you could be sort of tracked, and it's just one of those things, I would think. But anyway, keep your thoughts coming through. gbnews.com/your say.
Yes, would you love to hear from you?
Now, the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, will today unveil his 6 election pledges to the country.
Yes, they include maintaining economic stability, cutting NHS waiting times, launching a new border command, setting up Great British Energy, cracking down on antisocial behaviour and recruiting 6,500 new teachers.
Earlier, we spoke to the Education Secretary, Jillian Keegan.
It's really a very poor, very ill-defined and poorly thought through policy, and it will impact both the special educational needs sector, which we're trying to build more places because we know we've got more demand than we're keeping up with, and it will really impact that sector, as well as independent private schools that parents choose to send their kids to.
Well, let's talk to Labour's National Campaign Coordinator, Pat McFadden, who joins us now. Good to see you, as always. Are these pledges a little bit lacklustre, Pat? I mean, they're not saying anything particularly strong, are they, or particularly new?
Oh, I think they'll make a real difference to people's lives. If you're someone who's got a mortgage or maybe hopes to have one in the future, then knowing that a Labour government will have economic stability as its first priority and economic growth is really important to you. And it shows that we don't want to have a repeat of the disastrous mini-budget that happened a couple of years ago. If you're someone waiting for NHS treatment, where the waiting lists are, you know, nudging 8 million, knowing that you'll get 40,000 extra appointments every week to eat into those waiting times and waiting lists, that will make a real difference to you too. If you are concerned about your energy bill, knowing that we're going to set up a publicly owned energy company, GB Energy, to drive the change that we need, get bills down in the longer term and improve our energy security, that will make a difference to you too. So taken together, these 6 first steps that we're launching today, they really are change worth having that will make a real difference to people's lives. And they're just a down payment on change. They're not everything that we do, but we're publishing them today to give the public a sense of the priorities of Labour were we to win the general election.
Look, you're in Essex today, which is a real Tory heartland, not a single Labour MP in that county. And this is part of these pledges, isn't it? Wanting to appeal to those who have voted Tory recently. So what would you say then to criticism that these pledges, especially on the economy, NHS and immigration, well, they're almost identical to Rishi Sunak's pledges? You're just offering voters soft Tory.
Well, I'd say two things. One, he's not delivering. I don't think the Tories have made a priority of stable economics. In fact, they've done the opposite. They gave us reckless, irresponsible economics. I don't think they've made a priority of cutting NHS waiting times, because those waiting times and lists have gone up, and so on and so forth. But in the broader sense, if you're asking me why are we doing this in Essex today, it's a matter of basic arithmetic, that if you're going to win a general election off the back of a very bad defeat a few years ago, you have to appeal to people who haven't been voting for you in recent elections. There's no other path to victory. You can't just appeal to the people who always voted for you. And what we're saying to those people today is this is a changed Labour Party with a good set of first steps here that will show you, the voters, the priorities if you vote Labour at the next election. They won't be the only things that we'll do, but there'll be a good foundation, and if we do them, we can push on and make more progress for the country.
Some of the, I mean, look, they might be perfectly valid points, but people are going to look back at this and say, well, it didn't work for Ed Miliband. We look at that, that awful Edstone business that went out. Oh, there we go. We can see it on our screens now. And it was a PR disaster. And his 6 pledges were, well, not exactly like these 6 pledges, but frankly, not far off, Pat.
Well, I'm interested more in tomorrow than in yesterday. I mean, that election was almost 10 years ago now. These are policies for today and tomorrow. I think they fit well with the things that people are concerned about, the economy, the NHS, education, energy bills and so on. And we're going to not just launch them today, but to campaign hard on them between now and the next election.
Look, I wanted to ask you about a story in The Telegraph this morning that you claimed over £40,000 in expenses to rent a constituency house next door to your own home. So you had taxpayers subsidising your property portfolio.
No, this was a change in the rules about 12 years ago, where they changed the rules to stop MPs in any second home they were subsidised for from being mortgaged to rent. I completely complied with the rules. In fact, I sold the property at a considerable personal loss, which I covered myself, and I applied with the rules at all times.
Well, look, and to be fair, that actually is, for the avoidance of doubt, that's absolutely right. You did stick within the rules. Sir Alistair Graham, as former chairman of the Committee on Standards in Public Life, though, said that you went against the spirit of the expenses rules.
Well, that's never what the authorities have said, and in fact any changes I made were made not to get round the rules but to comply with them. And as I say, the end result of all this, because of the change in the rules and the way that these things were done, was to sell a property and to cover the loss completely, personally, financially, by myself. So I did that in order to comply with the rules, not to get round them.
It stinks, though, doesn't it, of hypocrisy? I mean, you're a party that launched a campaign last February which attacked the Tories over lavish spending on hotels and restaurants using government credit cards. And you have, or you have had in the past at least, taxpayers subsidising your property portfolio.
But there was always been a situation where if MPs are elected and they're a considerable way from London, then the authorities subsidise some kind of second property because you're always living in 2 places. So this isn't personal to me. This has been part of the parliamentary system for a long time. And everything that I've done with my own arrangements has complied with those rules. It's not a special case for me. This is MPs throughout the country. Anyone who doesn't represent a London constituency will have some sort of accommodation subsidy, either in London or in their constituency. And that's the case for all those MPs.
I mean, this, to be fair to you, Pat, this isn't a new story. This came out quite a number of years ago, but it's the fact that it's re-emerged now. It's like the sort of the bad smell that you can't get rid of, in a way.
No, look, I don't know why that particular newspaper's chosen to print that today. You'd have to ask them. As you say, this was all quite some time ago, and all actually done in order to comply with the rules, not to get around them.
And Pat, whilst we've got you, there are whispers in Westminster today that we are going to see another defection from the Tories to Labour, because you are in an Essex seat today. Whispers that there may be an Essex MP that is going to defect to the Labour Party today. Is that something that you can confirm is going to happen?
I don't know anything about that, but I do know, as I said a few minutes ago, that when it comes to the next election, we'll be asking people who perhaps voted Conservative in the last few elections to take another look at Labour, take a look at the first steps that we're launching today, the priorities that we're going to put before the voters, and they'll see a changed Labour Party from the one 5 or 6 years ago when it comes to that general election.
Oh, I don't know. There's a bit of a wry smile on your lips there, Pat. I don't know. Something might happen. We shall find out. Look, we appreciate your time today. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you very much indeed. It will be very interesting if there is another defection. It will be the third in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
The Tory party, so we'll wait and see on that one.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I mean, on this expenses issue, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one because you look at it and you think, does it make any sense? But it was all within the rules at the time. It's interesting about the spirit of the rules rather than the letter of the rules. But he didn't break any rules with this. That might not sound good to us now.
Yeah, and it's more as his position, I think.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. If you've got a view on that, I mean, the issue with it, and what he's quite right on, is to say that actually this situation will have applied to people of all parties, including in the Tory party now. It affected everyone at the time when they changed the rules on mortgage interest payments and things. So nevertheless, it didn't look good. But but he technically didn't do anything wrong. So your view, it's all down to you and what you think about it all.
Yeah, gbnews.com/you'll say. Do let us know what you think.
Now, there's a real problem in the southwest of England over water supplies from southwest water. Some people becoming really ill.
Yes, they're being urged to boil their water to kill off a parasite, which has left hundreds of people with diarrhoea, vomiting and stomach pains.
Let's get the latest from Jeff Moody, who's in one of the towns that's been quite badly affected. Morning, Jeff.
Good morning. Well, the cars are still arriving here for people to collect their bottled water, and the anger is really beginning to mount at the response from South West Water. Well, the alert was first raised by a woman that noticed there was a funny taste in her water, and then she became very ill indeed. And she joins me now. Tanya Matthews, you had this, and it was bad, wasn't it?
It was really bad, yeah. As soon as you eat anything or try and drink anything, it was just going straight through me, and I noticed a bad taste in the water. I also noticed in the local area that there were a lot of people getting poorly, so I contacted South West Water and asked if there was a problem with the water, and they told me there'd been 15 confirmed cases of cryptosporidium. And I wasn't happy with that number because it seemed like there was a lot of sick people. So I put a post on Brixham Fish Town, and overnight it went viral with over 1,000 comments of people within our local area that have been poorly. Even people that have been here on holiday, down for rugby weekends, were going back to their areas that they live in, and they were becoming poorly as well.
And when you raised the concerns with South West Water and they told you there were 15 cases, they were still telling people that they could drink the water, weren't they?
They were, yeah. They were still denying that it was anything to do with the water. Up until yesterday, they were still telling people that it was safe to drink the water, even though they'd only been that morning to take samples from my tap to test, and it would take 24 hours for those tests to come back. They were still telling people, drink the water, it's safe, when quite clearly it wasn't. I think even as a precaution, they should have been telling people to boil their water until results had come back. And now I'm wondering how many people are needlessly ill because of South West Water's advice.
OK, Tanya Matthews, thank you very much indeed. Well, they do say that it is very contagious and even pets can get it. We've heard of somebody that refilled their goldfish bowl and all of the fish died. So it's dangerous for pets as well.
OK, Jeff, thank you.
Oh, my goodness, you wouldn't even think about it affecting the animals in the household as well, but it affects everybody.
All right, now, let's just tell you there's still time to win our biggest cash prize so far, which is a very impressive £20,000.
Yes, imagine having that in your bank account this summer. But, of course, you've got to be in it to win it, and here's how.
Don't miss your chance to win our biggest cash prize so far. A totally terrific £20,000 in tax-free cash to make your summer spectacular. You could use that cash to splash out on a holiday, make the garden glam, buy a new car, or just save it for a rainy day. Whatever you'd spend £20,000 on, make sure you don't miss the chance to make it yours. For another chance to win £20,000 in tax-free cash, text WIN to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB05, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 31st of May. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck indeed. Now, still to come, it's the 81st anniversary of the Dam Busters' Second World War raid today. We're going to be remembering that next.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, every Sunday at 9:30 when I'll be interviewing the key players in British politics and taking them to task.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial.
With an upcoming election looming over Westminster, now is the time for clear, honest answers.
I agree.
And that's precisely what I'll get.
Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's election channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
Our job is to do what's in the best interest of our country.
You made my argument for me. My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
I'm hearing it up and down the country. That was a beginning, not an end.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 p.m.
Yes, has common sense won the day at the NHS? Yes, so someone seems to have woken up and realised people are more interested in the NHS making sick people better than calling them by the correct pronoun. Health Secretary Victoria Atkins is making changes to the NHS constitution, which will see phrases like chest feeding and people with ovaries outlawed. Even Keir Starmer is getting on board.
To get the clarity, is it right or is it wrong for Rosie Duffield to say only women have a cervix?
Well, look, biologically, she, of course, is right about that.
So do you owe her an apology?
Well,
yes. Do you owe her an apology? This has been somewhat ongoing. But actually, Cressida, the NHS constitution, my understanding is it has to be changed or ratified by the health sector every 10 years.
Yeah.
So it feels like this is coming more from the government and not actually coming from the NHS at all.
Oh, you mean because it's just time? It's just like, it's time to have a look at the lease sort of thing. The 10 years are up.
But it's just that also a lot of NHS leaders are kind of saying, oh, no, we should not do this or there's going to be complications. It feels like it's not coming. It feels like the NHS is still institutionally captured and this is the government going, finally, no, enough is enough. Sex matters.
Right, yeah. So, OK, so I said there was nothing Rishi could do. I mean, this helps, doesn't it? It's time. It's time
That was fun watching that. I'd like that to have gone on a bit longer. I think the bit I was really going to enjoy was when he did or didn't give his apology. That's what I'd like to
Well, also, I think they should have just brought Rosie Duffield in. We've got Rosie here!
Oh, fantastic. Yes, like a sort of 90s Cilla Black.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Matthew, tonight, I'm Rosie Duff.
Yes.
I'm dry ice.
Surprise. What's the question? Has common sense prevailed?
Well,
yes, but
you say it's got... That's my fear of it.
81 years since that incredible Dam Busters raid, but it came with a great cost, which is being remembered today. Let's head to the Netherlands, and Will Hollis is there for us. Morning, Will.
Good morning. Yes, well, today it's passenger jets flying into Amsterdam Schiphol Airport. But 81 years ago today, it was the men of 617 Squadron going to destroy dams at the heartlands of the Ruhr Valley, Germany's war machine. Not all of those crews came home, and one of them was shot down quite close to here on Castricum on Zee in the Netherlands, Dingy Young's crew. We've been hearing a little bit today from the RAF cyclists who've cycled all the way from Lincolnshire to the memorial that's taking place. And it's been organised by the International Bomber Command Centre and Nicky Vanderdrift, the Chief Executive. Nicky, where did this idea come to remember those men 81 years ago and their sacrifice by cycling all the way here with new modern RAF crew?
Well, it started last year to mark the 80th anniversary. We installed an exhibition by the Standing with Giants crew, and it was 53 silhouettes marking each of those that didn't return. And front and centre was Dingy Young's crew. And that's because his story is amazing. They were the first to breach the Mona Dam, and they were only 200 yards from safety when they were shot down. And this, as you said, marks the spot at which their bodies were washed up. So in November this year, I met with Jan van Dalen, who is responsible for having installed the memorial here to Dingy Young and his crew. And the art of the possible started. It was literally supposed to be, let's just bring the silhouettes back for the 81st anniversary. And that's developed then so that we could include this young RAF cycling team, helping them connect with their own heritage.
And why are we remembering this 81 years on from what is arguably one of the greatest moments in the Second World War for the British?
Because it's important that we remember. It is part of our heritage. It's partly what is responsible for protecting our freedoms. And if we forget that, we do so at our peril.
Still quite noisy here, but a lot safer than it was in 1943. Those silhouettes are here now, ready for the memorial service. The Dutch aircrew are going to be flying over in a special fly past at the memorial. What's going to happen to those silhouettes, though, after you go back to the International Bomber Command Centre and the RAF cyclists go back to their day job at RAF Digby?
Well, they'll be coming back with us, and we'll be using them to auction the crew to try and help raise funds for a new learning building at the centre. Education is at the heart of everything we do, and we've put 26,000 children through our learning programmes, but we don't have enough space to cater to all the children that want to come through.
Yeah, and it's about education, and so the next generation know what happened 81 years ago. Nicky Vanderdrift, thank you so much. On the beach here at Castricum on Zee, we'll be bringing you more on the Dam Busters story later in the afternoon.
That you will, and so important that we do so as well, and that we remember those brave men. So thank you very much for bringing us that. Up next is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Bev.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. We start the day with a lot of cloud, some showery rain as well, but gradually through the day there'll be a better chance of some warm sunshine developing, and likewise over the next few days, a greater chance of warm sunshine, less of a chance of showers, but certainly across parts of eastern England into the North Midlands, northern England, southern Scotland, there's this zone of cloud and outbreaks of on and off rain. Either side of that, as temperatures rise into the afternoon, some heavy downpours will break out, but in the far south as well as the far north and northeast, decent spells of sunshine by the afternoon. Cool in the northeast, 15 or 16 Celsius with some low cloud hugging the beaches. warmer where we've got some sunny spells in the northwest and towards the south. In fact, southern England, as we end the afternoon and go into the evening, looking at some lovely sunshine, and you can see the marked contrast there across Devon and Cornwall, sharp showers developing to the north, and this zone of cloud and outbreaks of rain through the Midlands as well as Wales continuing. Northern Ireland, heavy showers or thunderstorms, and likewise for western Scotland. But for central, northern and eastern Scotland, that's where we'll see some clear blue skies and inland out of the breeze. It's going to feel very pleasant in that sunshine. Now, the cloudy zone with those outbreaks of rain across Wales and the Midlands, that will continue through the night, but the rain will tend to ease. It will turn more showery. Many places will see a dry night, albeit with a lot of cloud remaining across the central slice of the UK. The best of any clear spells will be down towards the south and southeast, as well as across central and northern Scotland. Some mist patches first thing, certainly some low cloud along the North Sea coast, but otherwise, as the day progresses, we're going to see the cloud bubble up and break. We'll see some sunny spells developing, but once again, some heavy showers will form, especially through Wales, the Midlands, East Anglia, northwest England and western Scotland. Away from the showers in the sunshine, feeling very pleasant with highs of 23 Celsius.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M8 in Glasgow, 3 out of 5 lanes are closed westbound after an accident between junctions 13 and 14 from the M80 to Fruit Market. It's taking 20 minutes in queues from junction 2. Delays are possible to some Calmac Firth of Clyde sailings because of a technical problem. On the M62 in North Yorkshire, there's a lane closed westbound after an accident between junctions 34 and 33 near Doncaster. In Lincolnshire, the A15 is blocked northbound over the Humber Bridge, causing delays. In Norfolk, the A47 is partly blocked by an accident on the Acle Strait to the west of Great Yarmouth, causing delays. On the M3 in Surrey, there's a lane closed where someone's broken down on the northbound exit at junction 4 at Camberley, causing queues, and the M5 in Devon is partly blocked northbound between junctions 31 and 30 from Oakhampton towards Exeter. It's taking around 20 minutes in queues, not helped by people heading to the Devon County Show. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
So, Private Members Club in London, the Garrick Club, has voted to allow women members for the first time in its history.
So it's been around for 193 years. Women were not allowed as members, but they could go in as guests of male members. But there was a vote last night, 60% said time to allow women in on equal terms.
We don't really care about being part of a stuffy boys' club, and to join us to talk about this is Georgia Gilholy. Good morning, Georgia. Do women care about this? Have The Guardian got nothing better to do?
Apparently not, considering we have a huge range of domestic and global crises ongoing at the moment. I think first and foremost, this was a campaign. It's been successful now by and for elites. I believe the chief reporter at The Guardian who spearheaded this was Amelia Gentleman.
That's right.
And in the initial coverage, she didn't even mention that her father-in-law, I believe, Stanley Johnson, obviously the father of former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, a very influential member of the Tory party. She didn't mention that he was a member, which I find bizarre. It's something that should have